So hi everyone, I'm Namita Sachdev, your host for the day. As I told you, officially I'll introduce a bit later. And I welcome you all to the 20th edition of Video and Broadband Summit 2024. I feel really glad to stand before all the fabulous people and distinguished guests who are with us right now. So can we have a huge round of applause, first of all, for all of you? I'm sure you all are excited for the day, right? Yes or no? Yes. Thank you so much. Now, as we all know, India undergoes seismic shifts in video and broadband consumption. Pay TV cord-cutting surges while free TV subscriptions rise, and OTT platforms experience varying fortunes, with some stagnating and others soaring. Aggregator platforms emerge, offering bundled OTT services alongside cable TV and DTH as well. TV manufacturers and smart device makers rush to launch free ad-supported channels. Jio's entry disrupts, aiming to convert pay TV users to free streaming. Demand for high bandwidth persists amid falling prices, squeezing margins as competitors vie for customers. The landscape teems with vitality, but questions loom. How long will this fervor last? What will be the future of video and broadband entail? All the answers will be there in today's wonderful day. So yes, before we start for the day, let's begin with our first traditional auspicious lamp lighting ceremony, and let us illuminate this space with the light and knowledge, innovation and collaboration, clarity and purpose as well. So may I please welcome on stage all the dignitaries, starting with welcoming on stage Mr. Prem Ojha. May I request all of you to please give him a huge round of applause as he comes on stage. Along with him, would like to invite Mr. Amit Arora, Mr. Manoj Dobhal, Mr. Ruchir Jain, Mr. Sandeep Gupta, Mr. Alex Pogam. Thank you so much for allowing me to call you with your name, Alex. And Mr. Prashant Chothani, I would like to invite you on stage for the lamp lighting. We have Mr. Vikas Kanchandani. Please welcome, sir. We have Mr. Jay Ganesan, Mr. Gulshan Verma. And along with all of you, I would like to welcome Mr. Anil N.M. Banwari to please come on the stage. Mr. Pratap Jain is also there. Also would like to invite Sandhya Nair, and along with them, Mr. Jatin Gupta. Please come on the stage for the lamp lighting. We are really glad to have you all here. And Mr. Ashish Firwani also. Please welcome on stage Mr. Yatin Gupta, yeah. And would like to invite Mr. Ashish as well. Thank you so much, all of you, for coming on the stage. And now we'll start the lamp lighting with the candle, of course. May I kindly request the team to play the Saraswati Vandana. Let's have a cheers for all of them who are on stage. May I please request Mr. Kunal to come on the stage for the lamp lighting? Thank you, sir.
Purushaya vidmahe वक्रतुण्डाय धीमहि तन्नो दन्ती प्रचोदयात्।
With all the smiles on your faces. Our camera person is always awaiting for that. Thank you so much, all of you, for coming on the stage and doing the lamp lighting. May I please request you all to kindly take your respective seats. And after this, we would now like to invite on stage Mr. Soumitra Sahu, Business Head, IndianTelevision.com Group. And ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Mr. Soumitra Sahu. Also, with him, would like to invite Mr. Mishal Vanwari, Director, IndianTelevision.com Group, to share some insights about the day.
Wow, this is looking completely packed. And this is what VBS is all about. We've got such an august set of speakers and audiences here, so we're going to make it really short and simple. Welcome all of you to the 20th edition of Video Broadband Summit 2024. Let's have a big clap for it. We've got some really great sessions today, panels today, fireside chats, great array of speakers from all across the industries, and above all, a fantastic audience. Yeah, and we've got some really good panels coming up. And I would also like to take a moment to thank all our partners. Without our partners, VBS would not have been what it is today. A real round of cheers to all our partners. If I start naming it, it's going to take 5 minutes. So we can see all the partners here. And thank you once again. I'll hand it over to Mishal. And thank you once again.
Again, thank you for coming today, especially in this traffic city of Mumbai. It couldn't have been easy, especially in the morning. And so many people coming at 10 a.m. sharp. It's really amazing. Kudos to everyone coming here. So, as we all know, content is king, but distribution is God. This is a fact, and has stayed true till the test of time. Whether television was first distributed via analog cable or digital cable or DTH, or now slowly internet, TV has stayed the strongest. We're in a very fast-changing world where smart TVs and streaming devices have increased the penetration of connected TV. With more and more channels, especially fast channels, TV sets have become like a YouTube-like interface where there's monetization through a lot of different ad possibilities. Along with this, we are seeing more and more content viewing options. And it's not just your mobile phones, your TV sets, it's your your laptops. Just a few weeks ago, we had the Apple mixed reality device. That's supposed to be one of the biggest technology innovations. It allows you to watch with a TV or theater-like experience. So it's amazing what we are going through so fast, so quick, compared to before, what used to take decades, now is happening in months and weeks. And the best thing is, India is in a unique state in this entire market, where TV is strong, catch-up TV is strong, and connectivity is also becoming strong. Today, let's celebrate all our stakeholders, the broadcasters, cable operators, DTH, smart TV, ISP providers, fast TV operators, aggregators, OTT platforms, technology companies, and telcos. Because of them, we have had 24/7 entertainment, whether on TV, content, all possibilities. Now, let's go on to the conference where we have some exciting speakers and sessions. Thank you, everyone.
Over to the lovely host, Namita.
Thank you so much for kickstarting the day so beautifully and wonderfully. May I please request everyone to give them a cheers? Thank you, all of you. Now, as we all know, that this event would not have been possible without the continuous and tremendous support of all our partners. So now we would like to thank them all. This event is co-powered by Dangal TV. I'll kindly request all of you to please put your hands together for all our partners as I announce their names. Our associate partners, Planet Cast, Shimaru Network, industry partner, Chana Jor, India Cast Media, OTT Play, Velamento, Watcho, the OTT Super App. Lanyard partners are Extreme Labs, Playbox TV. Community partner, Kerala Vision Broadband. This event is executed by ITV 2.0 Productions, and this is an initiative by IndianTelevision.com Group. So may I kindly request the team to play the AV that we have.
एंटरटेनमेंट की दुनिया में तहलका मचाता हुआ देश का नंबर 1 हिंदी जनरल एंटरटेनमेंट चैनल दंगल टीवी, जो हफ्ते के 7 दिन करता है ओरिजिनल शोज से अपने दर्शकों का मनोरंजन। बेहतरीन कलाकार,
ना हमारे घर की बिटिया है ना बेटा है, वो किन्नर है।
धमाकेदार कंटेंट,
जिसके एक खुशी के खातिर जान देना है मंजूर, क्या उसी के साथ बांटना होगा हमें अपनी मांग का सिंदूर।
और रोमांचक कहानियों की बदौलत दंगल टीवी के सभी प्राइम टाइम शोज कर रहे हैं करोड़ों दिलों पर राज। दंगल टीवी इंडिया के सभी प्रमुख डीटीएच प्लेटफॉर्म्स और केबल नेटवर्क पर उपलब्ध है। ये है देश का नंबर 1 हिंदी टीवी चैनल दंगल टीवी।
Today's evolving media landscape throws up new opportunities every day. New markets, platforms, technologies, devices. It's an exhilarating whirlwind of possibilities. But every opportunity brings a challenge. Reformatting, enhancing, repurposing, redistributing. It's a never-ending cycle that leaves you breathless. But not anymore. Introducing NextC, a cloud-native platform with a portfolio of products and services to streamline your content distribution journey. Simply sign in to our platform, ingest your content, and pick the services you need. Handle quality checks, work allocation, collaboration, reviews, and approvals with Contito. Add our compliance services, metadata management, dubbing services, subtitling, editing, and many more. Spin up your cloud-based streaming service with our Cloud Playout solution. Need your content served at multiple distant locations? Let us set you up with our IP delivery solution. Launch fast channels for global streaming. Or get your own OTT platform in weeks. We've got you covered. Transform your content lifecycle management and grow your business with NextC.
रंगों से सजी एंटरटेनमेंट की दुनिया में हम लेकर आए हैं रंगों से भरा एंटरटेनमेंट का गुलदस्ता। पहली पेशकश शेमारू टीवी, जहां हर रंग की अलग पहचान है। महाकाव्यों के संग लहराता इतिहास महान है। हिंदी ड्रामा का चहीता और उभरता सितारा शेमारू उमंग। खुशियां बिखेरती है यहाँ नारी शक्ति, कभी बन के संगिनी तो कभी मां, जिनका दर्जा ईश्वर समान है। रीजनल जनरल एंटरटेनमेंट का बादशाह शेमारू मराठी बाणा, जुड़े हैं जो अपनी संस्कृति से उन कहानियों में छुपे हैं जज्बात। और यूथ एंटरटेनमेंट का नया डेस्टिनेशन चुंबक टीवी। एंटरटेनमेंट का लीजिए पूरा मजा शेमारू ब्रॉडकास्ट नेटवर्क के साथ।
More than a channel, it's an experience. We bring you the magic of mythological wonders, heartwarming romance, gripping dramas, and socially relevant stories. But that's not all. We are a proud home of heart-pounding adventures in Khatron Ke Khiladi and the boss of entertainment, Big Boss. Colors isn't just watched, it's lived.
Internet is key, but so is entertainment. Which is why internet service providers that provide OTT subscriptions as an add-on with their internet services are often the preferred choice of ISP among Indian users. But what if you're an ISP without access to these multiple OTT platforms? How do you satisfy this need of your customers? Well, the answer is simple: a partnership with OTT Play Premium. A true OTT aggregator and product developer that will not just create a platform for your consumers to stream OTTs on, but also fill it with licensed content from across 32 plus OTTs, 50,000 plus titles, and 350 plus live TV channels. Partnering with us will allow you to strengthen your relationship with local cable operators network and in turn the end user. It's a win-win. Better service for LCOs, happier customers for ISPs. So why wait? Choose OTT Play Premium and delight your customers today.
At V Elemento, we're not just building networks. We're powering networks and technologies for the future. We're not only providing network solutions for enterprise entities, ISPs, and data centers across the globe, we're revolutionizing the way these sectors operate. Our team is our pride. Comprised of certified experts, they are the masterminds behind robust, high-performance networks. Their depth of knowledge in network engineering, design, and implementation is unparalleled, ensuring that your infrastructure is not just built, but built to last. We're committed to ensuring your network operates at peak efficiency, now and in the future. It's not just about building for today, but preparing for tomorrow. V Elemento, a name synonymous with excellence, innovation, and reliability. Your network deserves nothing less.
भैया जी हमला! भैया जी 10 गोलियां ले ले।
गोलियां नहीं रज्जा, गोली।
पर बाहर तो 10 लोग हैं।
10 हो या पूरी बस, अब तो बस 1 है तो डन है। इसको कोई वॉचो वॉच कराओ, बात करता है। जब वॉचो में मिले ढेर सारे OTT ऐप्स एक ही प्लान में, तो हर कोई बोलेगा वॉचो 1 है तो डन है।
सारे पॉपुलर OTT ऐप्स वॉचो OTT सुपर ऐप पर 30 दिन फ्री। तो आज ही watcho.com पर लॉग ऑन करें।
फिल्में सिर्फ 3 चीजों की वजह से चलती हैं: एंटरटेनमेंट, एंटरटेनमेंट, एंटरटेनमेंट। और मैं एंटरटेनमेंट हूँ।
Wow, it was lovely, isn't it? So now we'll start the day. Before that, we would like to inform you all that we are also live streaming today's sessions on IndianTelevision.com's YouTube and LinkedIn page. We would also like to encourage you all to share your perspectives on the day's proceedings through your social media accounts. While doing so, don't forget to tag our official handles and use the hashtag WeBS2024, not 2023, of course. We can be found at ITV News on Twitter and Facebook, and IndianTelevision.com on Instagram and LinkedIn. So to start the day, we have a very interesting and extremely crisp fireside chat. Firstly, to start with, on evolving content distribution landscape with Mr. Saurabh Sancheti, Group CFO Geo Platforms, in conversation with Mr. Anil N.M. Vanwari, Founder, Chairman and Editor-in-Chief, IndianTelevision.com Group. Since this is a pre-recorded session for all of you, so may I kindly request the team to play the video that we have, the extremely interesting fireside chat to start the day with.
Hi, welcome all. And I'm really happy to have Saurabh Sancheti, the Group CFO of Geo Platforms, with me here. You know, he's been very, very kind enough to have this recorded. He was called by the senior management, and therefore he could not be here with us today. So he's recording this with me as of the night of the 15th. It's late at night here, and I'm very happy to have him with us. Welcome, Saurabh.
Thanks so much, Anil. It's always a pleasure being here. Hi to all the guests, and I'm really, feeling sorry that I'm not with you in person. It's a great place to exchange ideas. But because of this work exigency, I'm not here, but I thought it at least to make a point to be there virtually. So I and Anil will obviously go through our views, our ideas as to how industry is, what is happening. But I think one thing you may bear in mind that all of the views which I'm expressing right now are personal. My organization may or may not subscribe. So please listen to it with that kind of caution.
Fantastic. I mean, it's always a pleasure to have you. And let's begin the chat quickly. So how have you seen the content distribution landscape evolve over the past few years? There's been a lot of changes, you know that.
No, I think India is a very exciting market, and content distribution and media is like a market no other. Definitely, the last 5 years have been big revolution on all fronts. So let me tell by seeing how the market is today and versus what it will be tomorrow. So today, yes, largely, even today, whatever people may say, cable and DTH are very prominent platforms. They have the highest reach. They reach more than 100 million households. And there's a very big proportion which they are serving directly as a pay TV. There's a big business which obviously Free Dish is having. And the whole revolution on connectivity, which has changed not just the mobile, but the whole technology around connected TVs and large screen is there. And there we are just scratching the surface. So if I look actually, kind of India at a 350 million households, the last bottom 100 to 150 million don't have a TV. Their only access is low-cost smartphones for the content. If I look at the top tier, the top 50 million homes have connected TV. Many of them have a pay TV as well, which is where there are two products to the same segment. About 100 million pay TV homes. So, the distribution landscape is changing very fast because even though the numbers are not moving very fast, consumer time and attention is moving fast. And that is what is leading to a lot of change in mix of more choices. The customer time definitely is now getting into multiple channels. So it's an exciting time. I think the future is exciting for all the medium of content distribution. And the overall, as the economy grows more prosperous, definitely the number of users and the consumption is there to rise.
Yeah, so, all the players in the ecosystem have also responded to the changes that are taking place. And so what are some of the key factors that have driven these changes in content distribution?
I think, like I said, one good thing which has happened is definitely a lot of ecosystems are coming together. The access, which was earlier very, very difficult, is something which is made easy. So earlier we had it in mobility where as a mobile subscriber, you had to pay 250 rupees a GB, and therefore it was criminal to watch video on your mobile phone, to now having very affordable tariffs, less than 10 rupees a GB, and everybody can afford a mobile phone with content, and that opens up a huge audience. The same revolution, by the way, is also happening in home now, almost touching 40 million internet users. It's a very big market which is happening. And what connectivity does is, because it's like the baseline infra, but what it does is it definitely changes the overall proposition. And at the same time, because of again this opening up of market, people are able to take exciting bets and make it really large. I mean, for example, just look at Geo Cinema and what has happened with digital watching on IPL. It's like the whole model is pivoted, the whole attention has gone there, and therefore a lot of interesting experiments are happening, which is a very good thing to happen for the overall industry, because that is what maximizes the consumer surplus, and that really generates a lot of value for everybody in the ecosystem, not just the content producers, distributors, but the consumers as well. So it's really exciting.
So, smartphones are playing a pretty strong role in terms of, and especially through your Jio Bharat, through the Jio Bharat offering that you'll have, and they are serving the TV dark areas, I believe. According to reports, there are close to about 500 million OTT users in India, though Omax states there are 650 to 700 million users. So, in your experience, what role do the new and emerging platforms play in reaching diverse audiences? How do you identify such platforms?
I think it's a very good question. So I'll break the question into two parts. One is obviously as a content producer, and then as a distribution channel. I think as a content producer, the good thing, like I said, in India is there is no one India. There are many Indias, and the overall India is so big that even in the three Indias that I was discussing earlier, you have opportunity of a global scale. Now coming to the content producer angle is very interesting in India. So D2C is what is the buzzword. So everybody is trying to grapple with it, but Indian consumer is kind of a high touch consumer. So existing relationships definitely prevail, and in across industries, our learning is that is definitely a winning point. Therefore, wherever you have a distribution channel, whether it be via a local cable operator or as a telco distribution or any other distribution where you have some touch point with the user, you definitely have a lot of chance of getting him converted and at least sample. And if the content is of quality, definitely consume it. So as a content producer and distribution, like I said, India is moving very fast, shifting fast. The market is growing. It's quite an exciting time to see how things are evolving. And if you have a great product, there is no dearth of consumers. That clearly this market is showing.
Great. These days we don't look at a customer. We look at the lifetime value of a customer. How is that? What kind of a role is that playing in terms of customer acquisition?
Yeah, I think that's a very relevant question. And the thing which we have to say is the good thing is the good and bad thing. The good thing is because consumer today has choices. The bad thing is consumer has choices. So if you are not able to take her attention at the right time with the right content, you're lost. And that's where I think, affordability, access, and the size of market is definitely a given, which everybody talks about. But content personalization is kind of the real secret sauce, which very few people talk about and are working towards. I think one very important thing is, unlike a lot of other category where the consumer is very involved in the purchase, likes to go through the process of making the decision. Entertainment is always a lean back experience. The consumer may bit, but consumer doesn't want to really, do a bit of big research to find the right piece of content. And that's where if you have the right content dished out at the right time to the right consumer, the consumption obviously goes up. So clearly, like what I always try to remind my team is that choice is not actually a boon. It's not certainly a gift. It's a tax to the consumer. So the more you are making the consumer choose, you are doing that. Definitely you want variety. So in that sense, your variety of platform is required, but don't expect the consumer to put a lot of effort in discovery. It should be seamless. The right content should surface. And clearly, the who's who of the world, the best people in globally have this as the secret sauce. I think this is what in the whole geo ecosystem we have been able to do well. We have been able to segment the users, understand their needs, know what kind of content they'll need, and give them at the right time and price. And I think one more thing which I was actually talking to a large global tech fund a couple of days back over dinner, and one of the common pain point which came to them was, sort of digital is the sexy thing, everybody talks about it, but it's really painful as a user because I don't know what piece of content will appeal me where. And even if I have something in mind, I don't know what platform it is available in. It's a lot of research. And that's I think when we were just discussing what we have done in India, they were really blown up apart from that. So to summarize, I think the whole personalization aspect is the aspect which is really changing, and which will really differentiate, which will make the winners from the losers.
Yeah, what I like about you also, you have made aggregation so simple.
Guys, the lip sync has gone. Apologies for that. I'm just going to try to get it sorted out. We recorded this late last night at about 11:30 because he was called by the management today. Otherwise, he was very much wanting to be here, Saurabh. So the lip sync has gone. If you're okay with the lip sync not in sequence, then we can continue as it is. Or you want it to be rectified? Okay. All right. Continue, Karo. It's okay. They said it's all right. Apologies for that problem in lip sync.
You know, I was actually talking to a large global tech fund a couple of days back over dinner, and one of the common pain point which came to them was, sort of digital is the sexy thing, everybody talks about it, but it's really painful as a user because I don't know what piece of content will appeal me where. And even if I have something in mind, I don't know what platform it is available in. It's a lot of research. And that's I think when we were just discussing what we have done in India, they were really blown up apart from that. So to summarize, I think the whole personalization aspect is the aspect which is really changing, and which will really differentiate, which will make the winners from the losers.
Yeah, what I like about you also, you have made aggregation so simple on your platform. Though we may have certain teething problems going on with the system as yet, but overall you have made access so easy. I mean, there's a single billing mechanism. I get Geo TV, I get Geo TV Plus, I get Geo Cinema, I get live TV, I get all of that across, and I pay for my broadband connection. That's all I do.
Exactly. I think, yeah, that has been a good offering. That is really loved by a lot of users.
Yeah, and I also talked about the lifetime value. How important is the lifetime value of a personalized person? You talked about personalization earlier. Now I'm talking about lifetime value. How important is that going to play a role? You don't look at it. People are switching off this churn.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. But let me take part of it like a two-part equation. Uh, One part of equation obviously is the value you derive from the users. But our principle in the business, and what I've learned through my own experiences here, is that you should focus on the other part, which is what value you give to the user. Because if your product is valuable enough, and value is not only in monetary terms, it's value in terms of giving the right thing without consumer having to put effort, giving it at the right price, giving it to the right user. What it does is it definitely adds a lot of value to the user. So the way I think businesses should look at it is go beyond the LTV. Clearly, obviously, that's an internal control metric they should use, but focus more on giving and acquiring the right customer metrics. A lot of times, what I've seen a lot of people do is the whole process is more on vanity metrics of acquisition and just trying to get the consumer in, and not figuring out what his or her needs are. So focusing more on the extracting part from the consumer and focusing less on the giving part. And over a longer term, usually the giving part is what makes the consumer stick around and definitely, generate value. So focus on adding consumer surplus, as I began with.
Okay. So now, there is a, these days you're not looking at just one port of distribution, you're looking at multi-channel, distribution. So what challenges have you faced so far?
I think the challenge, like I said, is that there's a large set of users today who have access to multiple channels. So it's because a lot of things are in motion, like I explained. So it's not like there's only one channel, there's only one way in which the consumer was. So I'll say, like, if I zoom or go past 10 years back, life was very simple because most of the consumers are either or. It's either this kind of consumer or that kind of consumer. And when the choices are limited, it's easier to get and retain the attention of consumer to make him or her happy. But when there are too many choices, it's important to first get attention of the user and then make him or her happy. So I think what we have been trying to do is, figuring out what consumer needs what, and at the same time, enable multiple products across the value chain for each of them. And that is something which is working well for us, because we have realized that rather than trying to compartmentalize user that, okay, she is X kind of person and they would need only Y kind of thing, we are trying to give them a combination and figure out how to just serve what they want. So their attention is our currency, which we deeply track across businesses.
Yeah, so let's look at it, let's break it down into pieces. The consumer is more used to using mobile internet rather than internet at home. Is that true, or is that, and also the fact that connected TVs are growing? Then apart from that, also there's a lot of competition amongst cable and DTH right now. There's free-to-air also television. So what does this all mean for you? What kind of challenges do these factors pose to you?
I think that's a very good question. Like I said, the part where we focus most on is delivering value to the user. And value is definitely dependent a lot on figuring out what the consumer wants. So at the end of the day, what you want is, like I said, the basic currency is attention of the consumer. Is the consumer spending more time with you, more attention with you, staying with you longer? That's all, that is the basic currency. Everything else is a resultant. And kind of, therefore, that is the lead indicator that we work on. And analytics plays a very big part in it. So what analytics does is, and in all our businesses, it plays a very important role. It helps us identify the right content for the right consumer and hypothesis testing, and combine it with our tech capabilities, a lot of personalization and the whole consumer cohort strategy and dynamic cohorts are being created all by AI now. They are no longer, there's a product manager who is standing up and who's saying, hey, I have 5 ideas, let's test it out. It's machines who are driving it, and which is helping us understand the customer better and serve it better. So I think if I, again, go back to the previous one where I was talking about a multi-channel distribution strategy, consumer has many choices. Getting their attention today is not easy. And we are adapting for the new world by deeper analytics and serving them better.
Then also single billing, which is something which helps you, it gives you better.
Obviously, because whatever, see, I'll tell you the fundamentals of business which I have learned. I think only one part which people realize, how to increase demand. So demand is what consumers demand, right? There's one part which people are over fixated on, which is about if you make something cheaper, it increases the demand. But one thing which is very rarely appreciated is if you make something easier, that also increases demand. It's not only the price thing, it's easier. And what is easier? Personalized content, personalized product, something which understands me. I'll be happy to lap it up. So that second part of equation is often underappreciated. I've seen that by multiple people, and that is what we focus a lot on.
True. So now coming back to, what trends have you found in terms of content? What trends have you found that have been particularly effective in the current landscape?
So I think I'll start by a global trend, and that is not unique to India, but that's again what I've realized, that people call extrapolate 2 points and try to call it a trend. So what I try to be very careful is, a trend is an underlying phenomena. Everything else is resultant. So if I look at, just the underlying phenomena, for example, one thing which is a given is what social media has done over the past 20 years is people's attention spans are becoming shorter. There's a whole boom of content and choices available, and therefore the need for gripping storytelling, something which captures attention, is there. Now everything is just vying for attention. So attention span is smaller, and the important or a different storyline is important. And if I just like extrapolate that to India, how I see things happening, I think again, 10 years, if you go, you would talk about a concept which was in the US, but you would talk about in India, okay, one season, 24 episodes, 30 episodes, the story ends and something else begins, was unheard of, unthinkable. It's working very well. Or if you talk about, say, I think there's a big digital audience, let me do a movie premiere on OTT, people would laugh. It's not even thinkable. So all those kind of things are definitely bringing new type of products, varieties to bring people in. I also think that, all the new formats which have come in, and some of them are global formats, but all the new content formats, again, in a gripping storytelling way, which just captures the attention and imagination, is there. So the whole, it's again generating a lot of consumer surplus, because the whole consumer, which was host to only like limited genre of content, today has at least 100x more choice if you just explore by types of subcategories. So the whole choice has exploded, the format has become shorter, the storytelling is better, definitely, and more gripping. So those are the trends, and these are again going to continue for the next 10 years as well.
Plus, I think, the audiences started participating a lot more and they've almost become a part of the content themselves a lot more, as compared to if I watch what you do on your Geo Cinema during the cricket tournaments that are going on, if I watch what's going on Shark Tank, if I watch that, the audience can actually also invest in those, the startup whatever offerings they have.
Yeah, absolutely right. Absolutely right. So if you look at the overall piece, today audience is much more connected, much more wanting to identify themselves personally with the content, and they are also very conscious about what they are about. So therefore, again, a larger variety of audience, and more important, therefore, to serve the right content to the right person, because otherwise you end up taking away the attention, or at least upsetting the consumer.
Okay, so we talked broadly about the trends. Now, how is the entire Reliance Jio group making sure that it stays ahead of the trends, and it also stays relevant?
I think you are absolutely right. This is something like we always remind ourselves every day in the morning when we walk in. It's not about what we have accomplished, but what is yet to be done. It's still day zero. There's a good saying which we have in our team, that the best teacher in the universe is consumer, because we especially when we are product managers, business folks, we think that we know the consumer, but consumer is the one who teaches us. And usually those teachings come very late, because we don't realize it. So one thing which we do very rigorously is take the feedback and listen to consumer very, very intently, and look for signals where we are wrong. It's important to know that consumer is right and you will be wrong in multiple places. And that is what we always look as a signal. We humbly accept it wherever it's not working, and we change our strategy and go ahead with that learning. So learning is an integral part. It has always been important, but never as much as now, given the pace at which the whole industry is shifting. If you don't learn, if you rest on your laurels, this is such a fast changing world, you will soon become a history. So we just keep reminding this to ourselves, and keep on putting ourselves the promise that consumer is right, maybe we are not getting it right, and look for signs where we can improve.
Fantastic. So now, let's look at cable TV, and let's look at pay TV. Do we see pay TV and cable TV as well as DTH having legs because of the disruption that you'll have been putting forth in the industry as a whole?
Yeah, I think so. Typically, what happens is a lot of times people are quite pessimistic about things, but don't see the overall opportunity and the size. So like I said, let me again zoom into like 10 years later, how do I see the market and what is going to happen into the market? 10 years later, India would have 400 million households. 10 years later, India would reach a per capita income of average of $5,000. And at that kind of per capita income, there would be a 90% penetration of TV. Again, that's like globally proven macroeconomic fact, which means that about 360 million households should own a TV at that point of time. Now, where are these people today? Today, again, those homes, in contrast, are like close to 350 million and 200 million only on TV. So, which means the overall homes, which can be serviced by entertainment, is going to expand significantly. I think there would be a top tier, which is significantly large now, but which will be like about 120 to 150 million range, which would be fully digital. Because at the end of the day, again, the choice and the personalization which you can deliver on digital will be unmatched. However, I still believe that out of the bottom 250 million left after that, or 210 million to be precise left after that, pay TV universe would still be 100 million. The only challenge which pay TV will have will be the users who don't have any touch point with the consumer. I think cable has a fantastic opportunity because you have a guy who has known the consumer for not just years but decades. And therefore, the kind of personalization, adaptation, listening to consumer which you can do is like nothing else. So cable, definitely I see a very bright future. DTH will have to reinvent itself a bit. And at the end, obviously there's a big bottom tier, about 50 to 100 million at least, which will be on a free dish or a free TV kind of a offering. So like I said, the beauty about Indian market is it's so big that any one business you pick up, it's still 100 million kind of scale, which is what you don't even get in large countries internationally. So the relevance definitely I see. The need for reinvention is also there, like I've been saying, and this is what I keep on reminding, again, across businesses, all our teams, that, our past laurels are past laurels, but the way at which industry is changing, we need to reinvent ourselves. But I'm sure, again, Indian organizations, our competition, or a lot of people, especially Indian businesses, are very smart. They will move and adapt quite quickly, and we see a big market.
Yeah, so let's again a little more future, basically forecasting in the future. How do we see the world of media and entertainment being like? Do we see 3 or 4 large players who are integrated like they're in the US? But the US has a lot more players now. The tech giants are really driving the agenda. So what do we see happening in the marketplace as far as media and entertainment is concerned? Do we see a similar kind of a play happening, or we see telcos, or do we see software giants, tech, solution providers like you have in the US?
I think, like I said, because again, there are, in my estimate, out of 400 million households, 350 owning TV, 360 owning TV, I see 3 large markets. One is the digital first market, which would be connected largely by telcos, who are obviously putting in a lot of money in fixed investments as well. And that revolution is about to happen again, because even at like 120 million out of 400 million, you are barely at a 30% penetration. Today, any country of a $5,000 per capita income is higher. So that is bound to happen. Telcos would lead the distribution, and digital companies, both the OTTs as well as the internet giants, would be the media, I'll say, media engines to them. I think the media engines of pay TV and free TV will serve the other 200. They'll be there. Because I said the opportunity is so big, I do see a lot of space for everybody. That's the beauty about India, by the way, that, whatever opportunity, even if you pick up a niche, it's tens of millions. So the addressable market is large. The market is up for grabs. And I'm extremely bullish on the future.
No, so am I. But let's look at, India is this kind of a market which is leapfrogged a lot of things now. It's very fertile, it's very virginal, and it's very fertile for companies like Amazon, companies like Microsoft, to companies like Google to come in and make a strong play, and with a large market that we have to come and, try to lead an acquisition strategy going forward. Do you see that happening?
I think, see, they will definitely, all the global internet giants will definitely make a mark. They have already made a mark, so it's nothing like that. But having said that, isn't there enough and more for Indian companies? I think the opportunity is so big that no one player, no one set of industry can take it over. It's so big that everybody has huge opportunity. Everybody has opportunity to grow multifold from where we are. So it's a very unique thing because think about it, right? Today you have a 200 million households owning TV, and most of them not able to afford a pay a subscription to a 360 million kind of thing. The market is going to be so big because it's $5,000 per capita income. It's
I get it. Yeah, any words, any last words you want to tell the cable TV, the pay TV fraternity, as well as operators? Should they focus on broadband? Should they deliver video? Or
I think what has been happening is there has been a lot of pessimism, and that happens in any inflection point, in any time when things are not going as well, things are getting shaken up, a lot of self-confidence loss happens, whether it be cable fraternity or the pay TV. I think this is short-lived. This is an inflection point. This is where we can really build on our strengths. So the only thing which I'm working towards myself and my advice would be to reinvent ourselves, be closer to the consumer, because there is a very big opportunity, no matter whatever anybody sees.
Okay, but do we see the pipe or do we see wireless?
I think everything will coexist. See, again, look at the kind of consumption levels in India. You still are talking about a very little penetration, even in wireless. The penetration levels are not to the level where similar countries per capita will have when we reach a $5,000. So even wireless consumption will go, wired will go. I'll even say the one-way medium also has a lot of legs because India has all the tiers available. It's not just us sitting in Mumbai that we think ourselves. Usually, when you think yourself as consumer, but you also try to think that you are the only archetype. We are only one small portion of the archetype. There are multiple archetypes. You travel across, and I have done that actually. I have done that. Travel to towns. No, I'll not even call towns. Travel to households with 75 villages and their outlook, how they consume media. That is what has opened my eyes. And I found all sorts of contrasts. People who have moved to from one medium to the other. So yeah, it's quite exciting.
There's one more question I'd love to ask you, which is localization, hyper-localization of content. I think that's what's going to keep cable TV very, very relevant going forward, apart from the bundled offerings and and also even OTT is relevant at the same time. Whoever delivers more hyper-localization will also benefit apart from offering a wide, diverse content offering.
I agree. I couldn't agree with you more. At the end of the day, I think again, the trend is what? The trend is that human beings are social animals. And anything you get to them which can correlate with their communities is going to help you. And communities are smaller. Communities are local. They will be able to relate more. They will be able to know more. I think what has not been cracked so far is a kind of economic model in which a low-cost production can happen and be, I'll say, telecasted or broadcasted locally, regionally. But local and regional events is I think, one of the key things which will happen, because again, that is where technology is going. It's again a trend which is going to happen. So that certainly will change the fortunes of cable.
Fantastic. It's been really nice chatting with you. And I'd like to thank you once again for taking the time out despite happening today and what we, and being so optimistic about the future and positive about the fortunes of this industry. A big thank you to you. Really appreciate your time, Saurabh.
Would like to convey our thanks to Mr. Saurabh and Mr. Anil for taking such a beautiful fireside chat. May I please request all of you to kindly give a huge, huge round of applause for both of them for taking it so wonderfully. Now we'll very quickly start the first panel for the day, the churning video distribution ecosystem. What's next? So next is our wonderful session that is about to start. Churning doesn't appear to be a widely recognized or established term or platform in the context of video distribution. The video distribution landscape is dynamic, and new platforms and technologies may have emerged. Additionally, the popularity and dominance of specific platforms can change rapidly as consumer preferences and industry trends evolve. So many questions arise to our minds. Now, first one is, what are the global trends in video distribution and how do they differ in various regions around the world? Next one could be, what are the implications of different video distribution models, like if we talk about subscription-based, pay-per-view, or free ad-supported? Another would be, are there any emerging technologies or trends that are reshaping the video distribution platform ecosystem? So you're going to get all the respective answers in our first panel that is about to start as the chairs are getting arranged on the stage. So one by one, I'll announce the name of our dignitaries, our esteemed panelists for the day, for this session one. Without a further ado, would like to welcome Dr. Prem Ojha, Group CEO, Fastway. May I please request all of you that please join me in welcoming Dr. Ojha on stage and give him a warm round of applause. Please welcome Dr. Ojha. Okay. Without a further ado, would like to welcome Mr. Amit Arora, President, India Cast. Please welcome Mr. Amit Arora. After this, would like to take the honor to invite Mr. Manoj Dobhal, CEO, Dish TV India. Please welcome Mr. Dobhal. We have Ruchir Jain, Head of Distribution and Eurosport, South Asia, Warner Brothers Discovery. Please welcome Mr. Ruchir Jain. Would like to take the honor to invite Mr. Sandeep Gupta, COO Broadcasting Business, Shimaru Entertainment. May I have the honor to invite you on stage, Mr. Gupta. We have Mr. Alex Pogum, Streaming Market Development Director, EMEA APAC Harmonic. Please welcome Mr. Alex. And after this, would like to invite on stage our session chair, of course, Mr. Ashish Ferwani, Partner, Media and Entertainment Advisory Services, Ernst & Young, LLP. Please welcome all of you gentlemen on the stage.
Thank you so much. And from the virtual world, let's come down to the real world now in this session. All right. So I'm going to set the context. I'm going to take over from where Saurabh actually left off. And he posited a very interesting thought that and it kind of matches our assumptions. Our numbers may be a few million here and there, but by 2028, we see the TV world breaking up into three largely equal parts. You'll have about 70 to 80 million pay TV homes. You'll have 65 to 70 million free TV homes. And you'll also have around 70 million connected TV homes. Actual guys who connect and watch more than 5 minutes a day, not what is claimed as CTV right now. Okay, so in this one-third kind of environment, which we are steadily moving towards. We've seen this over the last 3 years. We're clearly moving into a direction, you know, like this one-third. So starting from a broadcaster point of view, I don't know, maybe Ruchir, Amit, right? How will this change your strategy on content, on monetization?
Hello. Yeah, hi. Thank you, Ashish. So I think at WBD, you know, so we are very hopeful about the future right now, right? So if you look at this, what's going to happen is, one is that the entire set of consumers are increasing in number, right? So Saurabh talked about how 200 is going to 360, how pay TV is going to grow, connected TVs, then you talk about free to air, etc. So the number of people coming into the media fold is going to increase. So that's one big factor. The second big factor is basically the time spent, right? So if you look at all the developed markets, right? More than 50% of the waking hours are actually spent either consuming some form of content, reading, hearing, or watching, right? In India, it is still low by many standards. So there are no like comprehensive studies, but many studies peg it at 4 to 6 hours, 7 hours. Compare that to 13 hours, which is there in US right now, right? So more number of people, more time, right? The third emerging trend there is, which is going to help the entire industry, is the value that consumer place, right? So the evolving technologies of, say, immersive tech, right? So talk about augmented reality, talk about gaming, gamification of content, interactive pieces, the see and do, sort of tech. Talk about hyper-local, we, spoke about. Talk about fan-based communities, events. So there is more value that the consumer is going to place on these engagements and these experiences. So more people, more time, more value, right? So therefore, the wallet share or the money on the table is going to go up multifold in the next 5 years, 10 years, etc. Now the question is that how do you draw your share out of it, and how do you basically create content that transcends these platforms?
So will you look at all three, or will you focus, as you have in the past, largely on pay?
So right now we are in pay, but we are actually creating content that is transcending platforms. So, talk about digital, for example. We have a OTT offering. We are also basically striking partnerships, with multiple players and multiple platforms. We also have theatrical. We also, partner with brands to do on-ground events. So we are, sort of, expanding into this. Globally, we also have large gaming business. So I don't think we will be constrained, that way. But I think this will evolve over a period of time, and it will, impact the entire value chain. So you have more democratization of the creative economy. You will have more money flowing into the broadcaster or the creators of those, content. You will have aggregators and distribution platforms that will change, and then obviously at the last end is the consumer, which will get more choice and probably more value for money.
Yeah. So I think it's clear you have to address all three market segments. That's important. But Amit, from your point of view, and this is a very difficult question, if I may, is the content the same across all three? Or do you have to recreate different contents at different price points?
Yeah, thanks. You had to put the difficult one to me, sir.
I've known you so long, I can take these liberties.
See, I'll tell you what. I mean, we're all, I really don't agree in the real sense that, we're looking at a trend of last 3 years and projecting that which side are we going to go for the next 5 years or 10 years.
Fair.
I mean, technically what linear pay TV has seen is a decline in the last 3 to 4 years. I don't think so. In the last 15 or 18 years that I've been in this industry, we've seen linear pay TV going down. So we just look back and we say, okay, fine, you're losing 5 million a year. You'll tend to lose 5 million every year because directionally you're moving towards that. One more Black Swan event, things could turn. But okay, leave that, be that as it may. I mean, very definitely connected TVs. Today, the estimates are ranging between 25 million to 40 billion. Content, your question, will content remain the same all across? The answer is no. Because when you're actually catering to free TV side of the business, I mean, you're largely today making more and more reruns for them, not really big-time original because the cost factor comes in. And the audience you're addressing is very different, which is watching pay TV. The premiumness on pay TV will still has to be distinctive from a free TV because then you tend to lose out on your subscription income. Insofar as the connected TV is concerned, I would still say on connected TV front, you'll have short formats, you'll have linear channels, you'll have content which is very different from what you see on a linear side of business.
So I have a very interesting, data point here, which is that you look at pay TV content right now, right? That's the whole and soul fiction that runs this country, right? On many OTT platforms, up to 80% of the consumption, despite having originals, is still that same content. It's just a different way of accessing it. And when you look at free TV as well, it's, as you rightly said, all reruns, again, of the same pay TV content, maybe after a year. So in effect, all three platforms seem to be consuming a lot of common content as of now. And you're saying that's going to change in the future. Formats will change, maybe the price points, quality may change. I agree with all of that. But do you really think that India is going to want so much more content innovation? Sorry, again, a tough question, but go for it.
Not really. See, I'm not a content maker myself, so I mean, I can only just look from the third frame of reference and talk that while you may be correct that, you know, the ease of watching on a digital platform, the same stuff that you're watching is because you want to catch up on that. That's the ease. But really, if you want to get the audience stuck to a particular medium, then I think the offering will have to be
different. No, that's a very fair point. Prem, I'm coming to you. I should say Dr. Prem, sorry. Dr. Prem, I'm coming to you. You know, you guys are like the gods of distribution in Punjab, right? I mean, you own the state. And you also have a great broadband business growing out there. So when you see this free pay and CTV, where is your money on? Is it on the CTV part of it? Is it on the pay part of it?
Thank you, Ashish. I think, you know, you said that distribution is God. You know, we all hear that.
It depends which panel I'm on. When I'm doing content, you know, it's more content is king. Yeah.
But with all humility and responsibility, I must say that we have a, you know, very important and significant role to play as far as whole content distribution is concerned, because this is how it reaches to the end user. And, you know, as far as our journey is concerned, from a linear TV, you know, 6-7 years down the line, you know, earlier ago. And now we are a totally converged service provider. So we no more looking at, you know, doing this or maybe only supporting linear TV, but giving converged services. The idea is to look at, you know, what the consumer wants, how the technology is evolving. Mind you, the nature of technology is to evolve, and it is evolving at a very rapid pace. And all we need to do is, you know, follow the trends, be amongst the front runner in adopting those changes, and, you know, deliver whatever is required by the consumer exactly the way they want. So I think we have done a fair bit in that direction. We have, you know, evolved as a converged service provider. We are providing content of all formats to our consumers, and you know, across the consumer segments, we know how each of this content is consumed. So while our friends are busy creating content and, you know, doing all the innovation over there, and I'm very thankful to all of them for their effort. Our job is to keep the ground ready to, you know, so that all this beautiful content and, you know, all this absorbing content can actually reach out to consumer the way they want it. Today, the desire is to see it, you know, anywhere, anytime, and I think that's where we are working.
But do you see, in the timeline Saurabh mentioned, you know, 10 years down the line, do you see a day where, you know, you'll have more broadband connections and linear connections?
Definitely.
Because you're in one of the most prosperous states of the country.
Definitely. I think I'll give you a very interesting snippet into that. There are geographies where our broadband connections have outgrown the number of CATV connections already. Yes, of course. Wow. So this is happening at a very rapid pace, and there are consumer segments where this adoption has happened very fast. And I'm very sure, see, we all keep saying roti, kapda, makan and broadband. So, I mean, we really mean that. And every home is going to, today we are just about 9 to 10% of Indian homes are, you know, wire connected. But that day is not very far. I think another 2-3 years probably we'll be at around 50% of coverage. And it's not that the demand is less. It is that the feasibility or the service reach is less. So, you know, the limiting factor is not the need or the demand. The limiting factor is the way we can serve it. So I think the whole industry is working. It's a sunrise opportunity for all of us. And the pace of expanding the services is, it has to really go up phenomenally.
Okay, that's a great point. And on that, I'll move to you, Manoj. You're sitting out there in one of the largest networks, right, of the country, Dish. And you've launched Watcho as well. And how do you, you know, in terms of your strategy, do you feel that maybe now, after years of having an edge over the cable guys, you think that because of this whole wired, you know, craze that like Dr. Prem was talking about, you think now cable guys will have a upper hand over DTH because they can go into the homes and wire them up with cable as well? And what will DTH's strategy be in this scenario?
Thanks, Ashish. So I'll go a bit.
Sorry, I'm full of tough questions.
No, it's
today.
okay. Yeah. So I'll go a bit, two or three steps back before I come to. Pardon me for that. I might come to this question much later in the discussion. See, I have an, let's take this discussion forward on pay TV, cable TV, broadband. The higher end of the spectrum, which is OTT, and the bottom end of the spectrum, which is non-TV households, and then comes in the pay TV dark households, which is free dish and all. So good thing, I think we have already heard Saurav also saying, and Prem and others also have the same opinion, that from a 31 million household, 31 crore household, I'll call that language. From there, we are going to almost around 40 crore households in this country. So if you look at, there has been a lot of pessimism, and that's because of the way the platforms have behaved in the past and were not able to transform themselves. But having said that, has there been a bleed? There has been a bleed between the platforms, not from the consumer perspective. There are always a new pipeline which is ready and which is aspiring to get into the pay TV platform. And the second part of the discussion which I just heard, we have assumed that there is going to be, exclusivity between these, buckets or segments. If you ask me, there's going to be a lot of overlap in that. There's no exclusivity that there would be only, 55 million DTH pay TV households, or 55 to 60 million cable pay TV households, or 20 to 30 million only OTT households. That's not going to be the case. There's going to be a large degree of overlap. I think I can point out towards the audience here. So there are some, 120, 150 odd people sitting here. I can bet all of them would have watched some content or other on all the different platforms in the last 5 to 7 days. It is just a matter of what you want to watch at what particular interval of time, period of time, depending on the convenience, depending on the user interface that you get, UI experience, and the need to watch that content at that particular point of time. So it all depends on that. So if you ask me, पहले बैलगाड़ी चला करती थी. From बैलगाड़ी we went to, bullock cart, for your understanding, right? So from bullock cart we moved to maybe a bicycle. From a bicycle we moved to a car. From a car we moved to a train and then a plane. So it doesn't mean that the bullock cart doesn't apply on the roads today. There are geographies for that. So that's about coexistence. Right, so if
Very valid point on coexistence, and I think that's an important takeaway for all of us, that all of these are not mutually exclusive.
Yeah, it's only the adaptability which a brand. So there are brands with long-drawn legacies and new ones coming up. Fortunately, unfortunately, because I am at the receiving end of it, when I say I means the DTH, because we are the one who showed the world of, or the country that, what experience it brings when you watch an immersive content on a, technology upgraded version of a, satellite and all that, right? So we saw that. And because we were the good boys and the malicious boys of the class, we got the maximum attention from everybody, including the regulator, right? So with no, no disrespect to anybody, right? So, so that's a different story on regulation and all. I think somewhere during the course of time, we may touch upon that as well, if you have that in your syllabus, right? So what happened? So it is not about being mutually exclusive. So what has happened in pay TV, especially DTH I'm talking about, the number of hours have gone down. Today also, if I have to, think about putting something into my home or renovating my house, first thing I look about is the, living room. And the first thing I look about is where do I place my TV, right? So people still are watching TV, and the social fabric and the thread which runs deep in this country, and if you look at beyond tier 1 and tier 2 towns, TV is irreplaceable. And from 30 crore, we are going to 40 crore, right? It is just that how a brand is strategically, alive to the situation and bringing in the right content at the right time, and somebody who can, solve this puzzle of any time, anywhere, or anything in terms of content, the ecosystem of devices, and the timing is going to rule this, game.
That is easier said than done.
Yeah,
it's very difficult.
Yeah. And small or big, why there are, cable operators ruling, the small towns or villages, because it's easier said than done. Even the biggest of the brand and the complexity of the requirement which a customer has today, I bet no brand can, fulfill it.
And that's why coming to my question,
Yeah.
TTH versus cable next 5 years.
Yeah, so there has been a fair bit of consolidation in cable. The people who are there have already tested the, waters. They know how to be agile and customer facing, and they have learned a lot. DTH always had that, edge, and it still carries that premium, right? It is just how the DTH operators, instead of taking cable as a competition, right, can actually coexist, because both of them can coexist in the same areas. It is just that, and we've seen it when I speak to the customers. There is something called churn, and that is what the topic was. So when we speak to the customer, the VOC is not that they have moved out. It is just that they have switched over at a particular point of time and they're coming back. So that is going to be existing. There is going to be a supply line which is going to come from the TV dark households and the pay TV dark households. So there's going to be enough bit of meat for everyone there. And I see maybe not a double-digit growth, but a low single-digit growth can easily be seen. For us, what is important is that we keep that base, we keep that customer with us, because we know who they are. And we also know that there are a lot of them who are looking for a OTT upgrade, right? And the ease is like all of them at one place. So there is so much of content today, people really don't know, right? What is coming, at what time it is coming, what is riveting. So all the platforms cannot make a riveting, gripping, sticky content all the time, because it involves a huge cost and capex involvement, right? And there are times when after a marquee series by some platform, you see there's a lull, right? And that is where, the intelligence comes in, the engagement with the customer comes in. What is the customer looking for in this period? So it is not that he is, not going to watch anything. So that is where the artificial intelligence comes in, because there's so lot of data available to everybody today. So what do you derive out of that? And you can actually have a very targeted niche segment, seeking some relevant content at that point of time. So if you can, DTH platforms or pay or cable TV platforms can make that, next leap forward, or reinvent themselves, that they can provide everything to the customer, right? They still have the ease over anybody else, because everybody else is buying from their kitty, right?
But don't you think that, and maybe Doctor, you can also answer on this, or Amit, you can answer on this, that given the fact that the cable guy already has a wire going into the home, it's very easy for him to go and add another wire from a broadband point of view. Do you see cable LCOs actually taking the initiative to wire up India from a broadband perspective?
I think you've touched the chord at the right place. We are a very unique success story in Punjab, Haryana, and the neighboring states. I'll give you some stats. In Punjab, there are close to 13 lakh wired broadband homes. 13 lakh. And guess how much operator like us has in Punjab? Close to 42% of that, close to 6 point some lakhs. Now, if you see this kind of dominance with two national players, and we know they are very big and powerful players, and they are growing at a very brisk pace. You have incumbents, you have another basic service provider. So in that kind of a space, if you can manage this, so this gives you an indication.
What's your secret sauce? Doing it yourself,
Yeah,
partnering with the LCO?
So I think the idea has been to, like I said earlier, just about 10% of homes today are wired. Internet is going through a wired medium. So that itself says that 90% is yet to happen. In Punjab, we were the first mover in terms of wiring, and taking fiber to every home. And, we today have close to 6 million wired localities, wired homes. And apart from that, I think, what we've done is there are 13,000 villages census villages in Punjab. And out of that, around 50% villages, accounting to 75% of the population, because we've picked the larger ones, are also wired. So when this competition came in form of the national players and, you know, all those converged service offerings, OTT bundled with broadband, this and that, I think for us, the impact was minimal because at that point we were expanding and getting the, you know, greenfield opportunities from the rural areas.
Very interesting.
So I think the secret is that you be nimble-footed, you reach out to more geographies, and cable operators, like you said, are potent enough because they have been managing, you know, this wired animal for, you know, 2 decades or even more, 3 decades now. And they know exactly the nitty-gritties of how to manage this turf. And I think, you know, if they continuously expand, that's the secret sauce, I would say.
Very, very interesting. I mean, to Shemaru, very interesting products, all of them, right? How do you see yourself? I'm guessing CTV is the mojo for you that you're looking forward to.
No, Ashish, we are into actually everything. Yeah, because we have 4 broadcasting channels. And I'd like to correct something that you were saying, that the free TV audience is not just watching content which is being prepared by the biggies. There are too many broadcasters, including Shemaru, who is creating original content for them.
Yes.
The only challenge what comes in for the free TV audience basis, that the recovery of that content may not be possible in free TV only. So we have to figure out how do we monetize that content in other mediums. So we use our medium of OTT, which is the our own OTT, Shemaru Me, YouTube itself, right? Any other syndication business that we go about.
Is for someone like you, you know, with especially your interesting content around Gujarati, where, you know, you have a fantastic play, is syndication more important over the next 5 years, or is building your own app a priority?
For Shemaru, Gujarati is building the own app as our priority. We are still, and we want to remain the leadership position.
It's a domination in the market.
Market domination, yeah.
And what about the other products, which may not be as powerful?
In terms of Shemaru Me, other products are reasonably growing well. Now, because we are focused or we have pivoted ourselves to Gujarati, it seems that it's in Gujarati that's working, but still in other areas of other content, we are still growing. We are trying to create more content for that, right? So as a company, Shemaru is growing in terms of, significantly growing in terms of broadcast business, right? And other than that, Shemaru Me and pivoted to Gujaratis of media.
And since you work in, well, theoretically the top end and the lower end, free TV and OTT, right? Is there like a common content trend between them, or do you see completely different consumption patterns?
Actually, in today's world, I think you really, while everybody talks about that, you have to choose which kind of content, which kind of people would watch. But in all classes, there is in all classes, you have kind of viewer of the similar kind of content. As I was saying, that like the content that we produce for Shemaru TV, or Shemaru Umang, both the GC channels that we have on free TV, that's traveling around the world as well, right? And we are syndicating that content. We are also initiating our connected TV content for that same channel. So I see there is window for all type of content everywhere. We also carry syndicated contents of the bigger broadcasters in our free TV. So the same set of audience is tuned to watch what we are creating. Yeah, the only thing that I think post-COVID what has happened is the patience of people watching content is low. So you have to increase the drama. The drama level of the content has to be very, very high. You can't be slow. You have very limited watch time that they give. If your drama is slow, they will switch to something else.
And switching to something else is actually a lot more difficult on CTV, I've realized. That's my personal experience. And I think maybe that's something I'd like to ask you about, Alex, because, you know, just the ease of operation of TV, ingrained in India since 30, 40 years, has been so, I mean, we're so used to it. When we move to CTV, we see it's far more complicated. You know, even in my own house, my mother-in-law finds it almost impossible to figure out CTV, though she's now down to voice search, okay? And that works better for her. But what are some of the more important technologies that we're going to need to see implemented across India over the next few years in order to capitalize on this one-third, 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 and all the new trends that are happening? Sure.
Thank you for the question. So, coming from the technology part of things, and especially the broadcast infrastructure, I think we see a big trend in DTH cable stays strong, and for us, it stays a huge part of our business, helping broadcasters and operators distribute their content through those networks and optimize it. But the big growth is in streaming. And we've seen in 2022 a tipping point of globally the numbers of subscribers from pay TV subscribers being outpaced by the numbers of streaming subscribers. And so we're moving from sending a unified feeds in broadband to everyone to sending actually unicast and a unique feed to the end user. And that gives the ability to customize that unique feed. And so I think a lot of the innovation and the new technology that are emerging are around how do we leverage that streaming vessel and have the experience as personalized as possible, coming back to what Saurabh was saying before. This is really where a lot of the innovations are coming. So leveraging streaming, leveraging AI to automate a lot of workflow and to make those content as targeted as possible.
And when you talk about personalization, which you mentioned, right, very difficult to actually implement, especially, I don't know, Jio Cinema and Hotstar had, crores of concurrent viewers. At that scale, do you actually think it's possible to personalize at that scale? When India goes nuts watching a cricket match, it becomes extremely difficult, and you're just trying to make sure the video stays on more than anything else. So what's going to drive this, from a tech point of view in the next few years in personalization?
So I see several layers of, first the answer is yes, it's possible. And then I see several layers of personalization. You can go from, you open a streaming OTT platform, and thanks to content recommendation engine, you have content that is proposed to you that is fitting your previous habits, your preferences. So that's more the lean forward experience where you choose something that is curated for you. And then we see more and more of ad-based streaming models where in order to fund all this, you need targeted ads. So that's the first layer of targeting, and targeting the ads to the individual, whether it be on-demand content or linear content. And that is already deployed at scale. We are behind some of the biggest OTT platforms. I would take the example of Peacock that reached 16.3 million concurrent users beginning of January on an NFL game. It is with targeted ads.
I'm not raising my eyebrows. That's really small.
It's true that compared to the numbers in India, it's smaller. But still, we're able to reach the 10,000s of concurrent viewers and target the ads at the individual level.
Ad targeting becomes super critical, right?
Yeah.
If you really want to get the rates up, and India's been chronically struggling with ad rates on digital, I think one of the most important things is enabling that ad targeting machine to work efficiently. And we're seeing trouble, and we're seeing a lot of advances there as well. And Gulshan's here, and I'd love to ask him how that works at some point. But I think that's perhaps a very good point you made. One of the single most important innovations that really needs a lot of work is probably ad targeting. Because OTT platforms don't always have as much data as, say, a Google does, or a Flipkart does. But how do you target ads? Where do you get the data? I think a lot of innovation there.
And you need a tight integration between all these ad tech players also to share the data and be able to target us.
You just said a very bad word, share the data. There's a law against it now. Hold on. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm going to go on to another interesting thing. Ruchir, from your point of view, when you see your audiences coming on YouTube, when you see your audiences on pay TV, on OTT platform, how do you sell all this from an advertising point of view? Do you think we need to keep a common metric going forward from an ad perspective, or do you still think we should have separate metrics for each platform?
So there are separate metrics. I am not an expert in ad sales here, but I know, sitting in meetings, that we track different metrics for each platform. So there are certain metrics that are possible to track on linear, which are not possible to track on digital, and then there are and then there is vice versa. I just want to touch base also on the content piece. I think there are several conversations that we had, from Manoj, we heard from Amit, you also spoke about that. We heard from Sandeep's point of view as well. So from a content perspective, while, you are right that there are several pieces of content that may be common across, but then, so it's going to be kind of a Venn diagram, if you were to imagine that. So there are certain common areas and then there are certain disparate areas, like crime, for example, is a content that is very single screen, sort of content, edgy content, that which you may want to watch in private, etc. But then there are content that will trump across mediums, like history and mythology, the newfound love that Indian audiences have for that. It just trumps, like talk about Ramayana, for example, and I want to quote the bullock cart example, right? Some things just stay same as ever. Ramayana has been told from last 200 years, retold in so many formats. Still, for WBD, the biggest success of last year was Legends of Ramayana that we had, and across platforms. So I think there is just a lot more, evolution that's happening on that side.
Very interesting. And taking that point of content forward, Manoj and Amit both, I want both of you to chime in on this. My personal feeling, and this is gut more than anything, I'll bow down to your final point of view on this. My personal feeling is that now the core need for digital to really grow is bundling. Just the way, Dish TV and Tata Sky and Hathway and Den came and bundled all the broadcasters' content and gave it to the end consumer. I think we need to see the same thing happening in a digital world. In that situation, where, a Jio will do fantastic work, Airtel will, extreme, Tata Play, Binge Plus, also working in those lines. And I'm sure many more will come up, right? When that happens, right, do you ever see pricing parity between TV and digital, or will digital continue to have a premium? Sorry, again, a bad one for you.
That's a very good question. I second it.
I would want to personally stay out of it.
Well, I'll tell you a very interesting aspect of it. Incidentally, the doctor that you are referring to, the research area for me has been the bundling.
Wow.
The topic is bundling in the emerging telecom scenario. That's the research topic. And whatever findings are there, I'll just try to put it across. Saurabh also made a mention of a very strong point, that it is not so much so about the value in terms of the monetary saving, but it is more to do with ease of use, how you access it,
yes,
utility. I think the research also showed, and it's not just one research, there have been hundreds of research on bundling. So 2-3 things that will happen in next 5 years. One is most of the operators will be forced to be a converged service operator. That's my take on it. Because, to survive with a single service, they'll always be very, they'll be seen as a very marginal player, and nobody will take them very seriously for a long time. So, all of us have to ride that bandwagon. That's one. Number two...
Sorry, on that point, then in effect, what that means is that the broadcast industry needs very strong evangelizing to talk about the good content they create today, so that they don't get displaced by digital bundles in that sense. Because there is a strong risk that, when DTH came as a premium product to cable, digital is already positioned as a way more premium product. At least the price is far more than cable.
Yes, it is.
And then that brings the thought to my mind that if TV then has to continue to grow and survive.
Yeah.
Yes, Amit.
I just want to come back on this piece, and maybe, I just funnily said that you're comparing prices between a linear TV and the prices of content in OTG space, because fundamentally linear TV stands regulated today. Imagine in a world if there was no regulation on prices. It would be left to the content maker. How does he want to play between one platform to the other platform? Finally, you're in the business for being in business, right? So to me, we're right now in such kind of system where you've been told exactly how do you price, when do you price, exactly how do you bundle? Because there's somebody else who's actually telling you to remain within these four walls, and the other side of the business is unregulated. The answer to that is not regulate OTT. The answer to that is unregulate the TV business, because as the pundits are saying that you're going to lose 5 million every year, then you got to shake it up and do something about it. It cannot be that what was true 2 decades ago and regulation after regulation, and I'm not saying to remove every regulation, but the feather touch regulation that we always heard about, I think that piece is missing. That's one. Second piece that I think really the industry is not seeing it coming is the advent of piracy in India. The ARPU remains low, so it's not troubling people. But as and when you would want to jack up 10 rupees, 20 rupees, 30 rupees, 40 rupees, that is where the government really needs to focus on today.
Manoj, how easy is it to jack up 10 rupees? How easy is it for you to jack up your ARPU by 10 rupees in today's day and age?
Yeah. So the answer to this lies in, it's the same pocket. And like I said, the customer is actually switching between different content on different platforms. So today, I would safely say that, around 70 to 80% of my consumers, which are linear TV household, do also subscribe to OTT.
70%.
Yeah, of course.
That's a
Actually,
huge
let me tell
number.
you another interesting number.
Yeah.
On an average, every individual does not own more than 2.5 OTT apps.
Right.
So while we are in the search of the holy grail of how aggregation business is going to be, and no offense to anyone, my dear friend, and it's good if they've done watch or binge is there, but really are people going to own up 5 pay OTT apps? The trend doesn't seem to be going in that
Nowhere, I
direction.
think we're seeing that globally.
So I'll complement that. So what is going to happen is, like, you just go back 20 years from now, when, the standalone channels, they started, getting aggregated by the DPOs, the platforms. Yeah. It's the same situation for the OTT aggregation now, and that is where Watcho comes in. So we are reinventing ourselves. Customer, we did NTO, right? So what happened? Everybody thought that, customer would go through a list of 250 channels and choose. That was, living in some paradise, right?
Very well said.
And the same is the case today. So like Saurav also mentioned it, people actually for a 400, 500 ticket size don't have that much of time to invest on. So if you have a hybrid model, and we have the green doors, we know already, right? We are the customers, and we are seeing that, we are experimenting, sampling it. So people are adopting it very quick. So the hybrid is the answer. So for me, the answer is very simple. If my linear TV is giving me $300 today as a, monthly recharge or, ARPU, I can say, and if I tell him that you give me $300 more for OTT, rather than that, I'll say, you are the same customer servicing, and my ease of reaching to him, my engagement with him, because of the, development of this platform is already there, and I do have a complete visibility of what all he is consuming through the, mix of BI and AI now. So I know I can easily jack it up by $100. So taking the ARPU by $10 is not really going to be a challenge for the paid DTH.
Very nice. Yeah. Super. I think we're out of time. I can see some nasty signs are being made my way. But I'm going to thank you guys all. I'm taking away 3-4 important points from all the discussions that we've had. I think there's enough opportunity. There's enough headroom for growth. That's clearly coming out. The share of how that will grow will change, and that really depends on how agile all of the players are in terms of pricing, in terms of bundling, and in terms of making sure the right technology reaches from a experience point of view. We need to see a lot more innovation around ad tech, to be able to personalize content tech, all of those things, because if we can't do that, our ad rates will remain abysmally low. And therefore, distribution actually plays a very important role in ad revenues in the new converged world. And I think it's equally important that from a broadcaster point of view, you have a strategy for all 3 segments, pay, free, and CTV, for complete success. And that's going to lead to so much more innovation. I can't even begin to think what's the lies ahead in that. And on that note, thank you all. I think it's been very interesting, a lot of heartfelt thoughts coming out. I enjoyed. I hope all of you enjoyed. Put your hands together for them. Wonderful panel.
You've made my job easier. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for pulling it off so very well. And we are here to wrap up this insightful discussion. Now, before we take the photo op, I would request Mr. Ashish to please felicitate all our esteemed panelists for the day, one by one. May I please request to kindly do the felicitation process, starting with Dr. Prem Ojha. May I kindly request all of you to please give a warm round of applause to all our esteemed speakers. They have shared their knowledge and expertise and filled us with a lot of ponder to just experience. And I hope you all have filtered your learning process as well with our first wonderful session it was. We'll start now with Mr. Amit Arora, the President, India Cast. Thank you so much, sir, for being here. We're really glad to have you. After this, we'll do the felicitation of Mr. Manoj Dobhal, CEO, Dish TV India. We are honored to have you here, sir. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge with all of us. Glad to have you. Now, we'll do the felicitation of Mr. Sandeep Gupta, COO, Broadcasting Business, Shimaru Entertainment. Thank you so much, Mr. Sandeep, for joining us for the day. Okay. It's Mr. Ruchir Jain, Head of Distribution and Eurosport, South Asia, Warner Brothers Discovery. Thank you so much, Ruchir, for joining us. Now we'll continue the felicitation for Mr. Sandeep Gupta, COO, Broadcasting Business, Shimaru Entertainment. Thank you, Sandeep, for joining us today. And now we'll move on to felicitate Mr. Alex from Streaming Market Development Director, EMEA APAC Harmonic. Thank you so much, Alex, for joining us for the day. And I'll request all our panelists to kindly share their perspectives. And now I'll take the honor to felicitate Mr. Ashish Ferwani, our session chair, of course. How could I forget to do that? Can you all come in the front for a quick photo op? As a camera team always requires that to, for creating memories, as photos create memories. We all say cheese whenever we are on camera, so yes. A big thanks to all of you for sharing your knowledge and expertise with all of us in the first wonderful session that we had. Now we'll quickly move on after this to our next panel, the next session on the fast TV phenomena, the next growth phase. So as we all know, the concept of fast TV has been growing in popularity with several major media companies and streaming services launching their own fast TV offerings. The phenomena has evolved further with new players entering the market and new developments in the industry. And to discuss on this, to elaborate these points, we have a lot of esteemed dignitaries in between us today. So would like to take the honor to invite Mr. Prashant Chothani, co-founder and CEO, Travel XP. May I please have the honor of inviting Mr. Prashant on stage. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for all our speakers who are coming one by one on stage. And now I would like to take the pleasure to invite Mr. Vikas Khanchandani, APAC Head, Distroscale Incorporation. Please welcome Mr. Vikas. I could not hear the applause. Thank you so much, ma'am. We have Mr. Gulshan Verma. Would like to take the honor to invite the CEO of GeoAds, Mr. Gulshan Verma. Would like to take the honor to invite Mr. Kunal Mehta, Head Partnerships, Samsung TV Plus. Please welcome Mr. Mehta. We have Mr. Venugopal Iyengar, COO, Digital Planet Cast. May I take the pleasure to invite you on stage, Mr. Venugopal. We have Mr. Jay Ganesan, SVP, Senior Vice President, Sales, APAC, Amagi. Please welcome Mr. Jay. And along with all of them, would like to invite our session chair, of course, Mr. Sunil Lula, Founder and Chief Evangelist, The Linus Adventures. Please welcome Mr. Lula. With this stage is all yours, Mr. Lula, and all of you gentlemen.
Yeah, thank you. We've had a conversation earlier, and we are running behind schedule, so we're just going to pick up the conversation like we had it a few days back, right? I guess this is audible. So Does anybody want to just explain to the audience what FAST stands for and what does it mean? Very quick, one person from this panel. Anybody?
Free ad-supported television.
Yeah, free ad is like a oxymoron, right? Because you got to watch that. Having said that, right, I think just get a quick sense from each of you. How are you looking at the marketplace being built? What's the strategy out there? Is this marketplace being built? Is it highly competitive? Is it too early to even talk about it? And what shifts are you seeing with the consumer? We can go clockwise and then we'll go anti-clockwise.
Okay. Hi, I'm Venu. I'm with Planetcast. I look after the digital businesses. And FAST is one of the verticals that we do. We basically enable distribution of content across all mediums and platforms. So coming quickly to what we see happening, the distribution landscape change we've already talked about in the morning session, right? And for media owners, there's like hundreds of options opening up, which is great news. But along with it, there is a complexity of how do you manage not only distributing your content without too much conflict of interest or conflict of revenue, and secondly, also how do you create a differentiated proposition for the viewer at the front end? I mean, there's no point doing live channel and then which is paid on a paid TV operator platform and then FAST as well. So those two challenges are, of course, being dealt with by the media owners end, and the distributors end, like I was talking about, is really about figuring out how to manage this experience for the user, personalizing it, making it more intuitive. So that I think we sit in the middle, and we're trying to help both content owners and platforms figure these problems out, and I think that's the evolving journey.
Thanks. So, Gulshan, you have the largest base, or you don't have the largest base? Fair to say you have the largest base.
We have a decent reach.
Decent reach.
Yeah. So, GeoAds is obviously part of the Geo Platforms group. We have our own FAST apps, I suppose you'd call it, GeoTV Plus,
yes,
and GeoTV, which is free at the point of consumption. We also work with several other partner apps, including Planet Marathi, where we go and help them monetize in their own apps as well. So I think the short answer right now is people want to watch a lot of content, and they want the variety of it, and they are willing to watch ads in exchange for a richer experience or more variety. And this is not just an Indian phenomenon because we're in India. If you look at the US, for example, you take something like Hulu TV, they have two plans, a $12.99, at least it used to be $12.99 a month with no ads, and the $7.99 a month with ads. 95% of users take the $7.99 with ad space. I think the gentleman before us was talking about Peacock. Peacock is I think mostly a fast ad-supported network. And so the whole statement is that the original view of OTT was supposed to be it's a premium experience, one channel to watch everything, and then everyone came in and said, I'm launching my own experience, and all of a sudden we went from having one or two OTTs to 15 to 25 to 30. And that becomes a difficult concept for most people. So there will always be interest in FAST, I think. And the way I look at it is there is completely non-ad supported, there is a hybrid version, and there is one which is completely ad supported, and I think they will continue to grow side by side.
So Vikas, just to twist the conversation a bit, right, and your passion for cohorts and what it means for audiences, to add to that.
Right, so that I don't just repeat what everybody else is saying, if you look towards the West, and US is a great market to look at, this year, FAST was bigger than SVOD streaming, right? And all streaming put together was bigger than cable and DTH already. And this is a $70,000 plus per capita income market. So you can imagine what's going to happen here where the per capita is under $3,000. The other thing that's really happening is that a lot of genres are getting really pushed out of traditional distribution. So if you look at categories like English movies, English entertainment, and now slowly many other categories are feeling the heat. and these guys are getting pushed out of traditional distribution, FAST is becoming a great place for them to land. This is giving them an opportunity to reach the right audiences and build viewership around it. Now with cookie deprecation, I think content cohorts is, I think, the ideal way to sort of build audiences. This is exactly what even Google Sandbox is trying to do. It's saying, hey, these are sports audiences, these are gaming audiences, these are comedy audiences. You could do the same thing, right? You could cluster content and you can make those audiences available to partners. Albeit it comes with all the other capabilities of targeting because it's a digital medium. So I think a lot will evolve. And what I can gather from the conversation that most of the SSP partners are having, they're starting to now bundle content by these cohorts. So they want to go to the market, to advertisers, offering capabilities for them to target these cohorts. So I think it's exciting times ahead.
That's great. Mr. Chothani, is this all adding to your complexity or making your life easier now?
We entered FAST 4 years back in Europe. We are largely a pay TV operator, a broadcaster in 110 countries on pay TV. We also have our OTT offering. So we are across the board. So what it helped us was that FAST helped us to graduate people to go on to pay TV and then to get into SVOD. So FAST is, when you said what is FAST, it's DD free dish on steroids.
Yeah.
So actually if you speak, it's
That's
nothing.
a nice definition.
Yes, it's DD free dish on steroids because you can monetize it better is what you think. Not yet, but one day you will be because the fill rates are still, CPM rates are pathetic as Ashish said in the earlier session. Even your fill is between 3 to 15% is what I know. It's pathetic because the number of impressions are increasing. The advertising budgets are not going to increase that way. And it's not that the television advertising budget is going down. The growth has slowed down. So nobody is going away. Everything is going to be there. We need to be everywhere. That's the key takeaway we understood when in the West, when we entered into FAST. And it's not that it took away from our pay TV audience or it took away from our OTT offering. So consumer is also consuming, as Manoj said in the last session, that the consumer is watching everything everywhere. So it's not this or that. It's this and that and that. So this is one more, and it's a good thing to talk. As a media industry, we are adding new and new items for discussion. Panel discussions are happening. SWOT was the flavor last 3-4 years. Now FAST is the flavor.
And as the person who actually dominates the screen, Kunal?
Sunil, I'll just add a few points. In terms of when we wanted to launch FAST in India, the basic premise was to have high quality, production quality content available on FAST. So all your live TV channels, which are traditionally consumed at home and are producing content at a very high level, are all available to us today. The second thing to remember was the ease of conversion from DTH, cable, other means to FAST. So the EPG, the look and feel, the choosing of the LCN. Ashish was mentioning his mother-in-law still has an issue, navigating through FAST. But that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to keep it as simple as possible for the consumer to consume television, live channels on FAST. Yes, a few genres have kind of come in, taken over the entire opportunity, and news is dominating the market. There is a need for other genres also to start, investing into content, investing into FAST. And, about 80% of my consumers today watch some ad-supported streaming content on our FAST television. So that just shows you how powerful, the medium is, whether it be TV Plus or YouTube or any other OTT application on the platform. So, we just continue to build on it at the moment. Yeah.
Thanks, Jay.
So I think pretty much everybody has covered most of it, but at least as Amagi, what we are seeing more from a global context and also Indian context, right? I mean, for any of this which is free ad supported, the moment you start with it, there are going to be 4 key players, right? In any, starting from the consumer, of course, who's eventually watching, who's ready to give some of his time watching an ad for getting a free content. They clearly see value in FAST because on AVOD, there's so much of content. You just end up, when you want to have a lean back experience, you just don't know what you want to watch. Like, let's say if I'm in mood for watching a stand-up comedy content, I go search for it. You throw me like 300 hours across 20 different apps. I don't even know where the hell to start with, right? So it's much rather I go to channel number 255. Any stand-up comedy that's coming, I'm going to watch. So some genres are definitely more suited for a linear viewing than AVOD. From a platform perspective, be it people like Kunal coming from a from an OEM perspective, or a SVOD or an AVOD app, or even a pay TV, for them it makes perfect sense because certainly as the ARPUs are going down and more viewership anyways moving towards streaming, the touch rate of the content, mostly for AVOD, is like, most of them I talked to even in Southeast Asia or Australia, 95 to 98% of the catalog that's carried by any AVOD platform is not watched by even one subscriber in the last 12 months. Because you can watch yourself as a subscriber, you're pretty much watching only the top curves. So FAST is a much easier way. And number 2 is, especially for AVOD, if I'm going to be sitting in front of the screen for 30 minutes, I'd rather spend 30 minutes watching content rather than 30 minutes discovering content. That's 30 minutes wasted discovering content, right? So it makes sense for the platform. For a content owner, clearly, there is so much of long tail library which is just lying around. You just need to create single IP channels, niche interest channels, go and distribute it globally. Little regulations, no landing rights. So the entry barriers are much smaller. Just go ahead and create it, right? And finally, the advertisers are eventually going to follow the eyeballs. So at this point in time, there is still more viewing happening on terrestrial and broadcast and like DTH. But as content viewership moves, and that's what we've seen in the US, right? So if you look at a place like the US, it starts from distribution, where more content owners are ready to distribute to FAST. The second is engagement, where the audience is going to spend more minutes. And then the Gulshans of the world are going to follow, right? We are now, I think, in India at a phase where the distribution is starting to happen, especially in certain genres. Yeah. The engagement has also started happening. The next part is the whole monetization gig that will absolutely happen, because as Indian audience especially, we are absolutely okay to watch ads in return for getting it free, especially in certain genres.
So I'm going to throw 3, 4 questions. Pick up what you like, whoever, right? How do you drive this growth to be on top of this game? Which brands or which categories are actually playing a great strategy out there? If you don't want to give a name, you know, what are they doing? And what are we doing to educate the entire ecosystem, right? There are agencies out there, there are advertisers out there, and there's consumer, right? So because this is a mixed game, there's no cookie cutout here, right? You just got to play with all 3. So whoever wants to go first?
So Sunil, I think the amount of conversation around FAST has been so much that most brands, most agencies are pretty much aware of it. The larger challenge that we are facing is that the conversation is device-centric. So it's either large screen or it's small screen. My view, that conversation needs to change at some point or time. And I think that would happen when you get enough reach across distribution, right? Because the way I look at it, and I've been a traditional player too, we transition from cable to DTH, and we move from DTH to HD boxes. And even when we transition from cable to to DTH, there was this brouhaha, right? It needs to be sold separately. It needs to be monetized at a premium. And we said all of that. There was just a lot of conversation, and we went back to selling content. Now the distribution is on the internet pipe. The consumer is on a small screen or a large screen. How does it matter? Now, I think that sort of evangelizing needs to be done at scale, and I think partners will need to build reach before advertisers take it seriously. Up until then, it's still a line item on the DSP. Yeah. That's what it is.
Sure. Gulshan.
Yeah, I think in the interest of just making an interesting discussion, let me give a slightly opposed view to that conversation. I think today, if it's fast, I think there has been advertiser adoption. You know, I don't know any single advertiser I work with today that makes this very strong distinction between is it a fast channel or is it a premium channel or is it something else? As long as it's professionally produced content, I think people are happy with it. Obviously, I think sports sits in a slightly different category to itself. So I don't think I worry about adoption per se. You know, my personal view on this is that we talk about cookies and we talk about this, but frankly, all that's required is to get people to log in, okay? Once you log in, no one worries about cookies and stuff. And Ashish and I used to talk about this, and I spent a lot of time in one of the larger newspaper organizations saying, please get people to log in. And we got people to log in, and it went up from 2% to 6% in 3 years because the entire editorial team was so focused on, I will say this, they're my friends, but I will say it, on, you know, users, okay? MAUs, DAOs, etc. So I personally think that the cookie thing actually is a good news for the fast channels and the OTTs because people will go back to a more considered environment. I have very little hope for a cross-channel like measurement activity.
Yeah.
Okay. You know, we've tried to do it for 15 years now across digital and TV. We couldn't do it because, unfortunately, the issue is this, and I've been saying this for like so many years. I can do it from memory. Videos don't just, ads don't just happen between content anymore. I sell ads on GeoMart and Agio, and I'm able to show this is a person who bought Agio Lux, and then they went and bought like a Bulgari, whatever it was, or a Bali bag. And so now the world has become, you know, there was a bunch of clubby media owners who used to talk about video and media content. And while they were talking about it, everybody started saying, hey, this is a really great ads business. Can I do it on Swiggy? Can I do it on, as an example, my own app, which is MyGeo. MyGeo has 2 million users a day who recharge a lot of money on a multiple basis. And that's where users are, where people are looking to reach and spend content. And so the statement I'm making right now is the world of media was very used to having 4 or 5, maybe 15, now a few hundred channels. Now those same ads are running across PhonePay, Paytm, utility apps, e-commerce apps, social media feeds, UGC, where people are flicking through. We can't even agree on the definition of what does it mean to see an ad.
Yeah.
Is it with the sound off, sound on, how long, in and out? And none of us wants to share data because that's the only thing that we have. So I have zero faith in our ability as a group to create a cross-media thing. Okay.
And Venu told me that technology wasn't a challenge anymore.
Yeah. No, I mean, okay, so that's a fun take.
Sorry, Venu, I've just,
I'm good.
I've been hearing it for 10 years now.
I'll move to slightly easier subjects, right? No, the one thing that we would love to see happen in an Indian context or a nation context, especially when we're talking with a lot of our customers, content owners, right, is the usage of content in itself. And there's a lot of interesting cases, especially how sports does it in the US, or how even entertainment with single IP content, when you know that, you know, something as a Hum Log Aur Bunyad has that kind of a pull, and building the ability to do that, looking at how do you create genre-based entertainment, and within genres, how do you create sub-genres? Because finally, at the end of the day, the proposition has to be clear to the consumer. They're going to be dipping in and dipping out, which is what a lot of people used to say about music television, if you remember, right? Snack in, snack out. So very often, fast is that. In fact, game shows do fantastically well. We're not experimenting enough, right? One of the things that Banijay will tell you is that game shows do great because, you know, you can jump in anytime, get out anytime, and there are lots of properties that we've created which can be so we're not we need to experiment a little more on the content side to figure out what fits this. I think those would be great moves to watch on how this is coming. And like I said, on the distribution at the end point, right? I think a lot more work on the personalization side needs to happen. There is very little data today to really, you know, there are very little numbers you'll see around. Like for instance, we go to a multicultural market like the US, it's very difficult to get hold of ethnicity, that's watching, which should be more or less straight, but it's not that easy. You can't really differentiate platforms based on the ethnicity, and it's very click-based. So that, I think, well, there may be reasons for not coming out with that data, and I know OEMs will want to play it close to the chest. But at the end of the day, I think that's what's going to help you personalize, and it's going to help. Till you don't personalize that, it's going to be a sea of content. Like you say, you can't even differentiate between an ad and content anymore. Where you're watching it, the platform, is it a channel? Is it an app that I'm watching on? Is it my payments app that I'm watching on? So in clutter like this, it's really important to know who you're addressing and what you're giving them, and tailor stuff. That I think all the work we'll do on that front is going to help us incredibly in being able to increase viewership.
So Prashant, you're an early adopter of.
Yes, so
right?
I want to add one more thing.
Yes.
What happened in the US? So we were talking 3 years back, linear is dead. Now we are saying that fast is the highest watched content in the US. That means linear is not dead. In the Indian context, CPMs on linear are pathetic. Advertisers have not gone to buying impressions where BARC was started. You were the CEO there. You know very much how much we have struggled to make the agencies come to buy impressions. So what is happening now, even if you see at Z Media, they have now done that the selling of digital and traditional TV is going to be one. So the effort is that the advertisers will need to buy impressions. The moment you calculate impressions, CPMs on TV are, say, 3 cents. On fast, 3 cents on linear. Today, Indian CPMs are less than 3 cents. The moment you calculate CPMs. Now equate that to the fast ecosystem in India. If they are going to sell at $3, $5, how much are they are going to be able to sell it to the advertiser? So the advertiser is going to ask, if I am paying 3 cents on linear television, why should I pay $3 on fast? These are the conversations really going on right now. This is a key challenge. That's why the fill rates are not going up. So now we are saying that if you are willing to pay $3 to fast, why not pay $3 to linear? So now what BARC was made for, that advertisers should buy for impressions, that should come. Ultimately, you're buying impressions on both sides.
But given that this world is not going to come together on measurement, right? It becomes the onus of various players like you to carry this burden forward, right?
No, but even measurement on fast and measurement on digital is also questionable. Nobody is sharing. There is no transparency.
No, but
it says that you can see. I can see my own face in the mirror, but nobody else can see my face. That's the point.
May I jump in here? Okay. So, the funny thing is that, and I talked to Saurabh, who's also my CFO, in the morning, so he says the same thing. We had a conversation about sell-through rates and fill-through rates. And so I was like, why is your sell-through rate not 100%? And we had this conversation. Advertisers aren't buying impressions. They're buying reach and frequency, okay? The difference is that when we're having the conversation, we are saying these are people who live in Bombay, we are people who live in, who have a credit card, who live in a certain male, female dominated household, whatever you want to say. And I want to show it 5 times. That's what they're paying for. Linear TV does the same thing, but it just drives 100x more impressions to do the same job. The problem here is that we still have 40 plus advertisers who dominate the market, okay? Unlike markets like the US or Australia or even China. China's a fabulous market for television. If you look at it, there's very strong local regional advertisers. The issue is when you have 50 advertisers who drive 80% of the market, they will create the metric. And I was sitting on the ad club jury last night online, like reviewing all the media buying plans. It's the same 20, 30, 50 advertisers. You will not get a higher fill rate until you understand that we're not selling impressions, we're selling reach and frequency. And yes, completely right that there's no transparency about it. Don't disagree, okay? Because everyone has their internal metrics, everyone has their internal measurements. We keep trying to have that conversation. But linear does the same job, but it just requires too much effort. And we can only solve that if we go from having a world of 50 advertisers who drive 80% to a world of, 5,000, 10,000.
So will this category come together at least to educate, whether it's the advertisers or the agencies, because they stand to gain the most?
I'll give you an example. So last month, we started building out video ads for SMB advertisers using Gen AI. We have built our own tool. You put a prompt in, we'll create, you'll create, what do you say? You'll say, I'll give you an example. My first customer in December was a Chinese restaurant in Jharkhand.
Wow.
Okay? Hyper-local targeted in his area to reach that pin code. Okay? And he's happy to pay, 150 rupees CPM because I've taken all the stress out of it. Now, in your world, and it was all online. The whole thing was done on WhatsApp. We sent him a link. He wrote a couple of prompts. He picked the versions that came up, signed up, paid in advance. It was running. We sent him a report on WhatsApp. Like, until you build that marketplace out, we will always be having the same conversations.
Kunal, do you get restricted because it's the Samsung world, or do you get stronger because of the Samsung world?
I believe I get stronger because it's the Samsung world. See, there are three fundamental factors, right? And we continue to educate the market both on the advertiser side as well as the content owner side. We've been doing this since about 2 years. It's a fairly new phenomena. I personally believe the distribution is kind of in place. We have FAST now available across televisions from 2017 to till date. And the uptake for CTV or smart TVs is so large that we've pretty much sorted in terms of the distribution for the next coming few years. We're doubling it, I think, by 25. Having said that, there are broadcasters which are still not geared up to deliver content to FAST. The technology is still not there. That's where Jay and Venu kind of come in and help those guys out. But still, the whole hesitation of pay versus fast versus is this the right time to enter, etc. That's a challenge. Viewership keeps skyrocketing. So where the viewership goes, I believe the advertisers naturally would go with large brands, more and more large brands coming on board, broadcasting brands. I believe this problem should be sorted pretty much soon. I totally agree with what Prashantji is saying in terms of CPMs going down or there's pressure on CPMs, etc. That needs to be fixed for sure.
So what should be done at a faster scale from an industry point of view, or you as a player, or you as a platform point of view, to really get what Ashish Ferwani quoted as saying, 1/3 of the market should belong to this category?
I can possibly go first on that, right? So the primary thing is, whenever I talk to content owners or people who have been running broadcast channels for the last 5, 10, 15 years, depending on wherever, the one thing which is common, right, which is be it something which is in the free tier or in the pay tier, in general, the revenues that I was making 4 years back, 5 years back, was probably 30%, 40%, 50% more than what I'm making today, right? So if today you are at 60% of what you are making 4 years back, the key thing is that that's a reflection of how fragmented the audience as well is. So again, FAST is not a solution to the problem. FAST is one of the solutions to the problem, right? So like what Kunal was talking about, the key thing is that if you have to get back to that 100 from the base of 60 that you're making from broadcast, you need to make dollars on FAST, you need to make dollars on SWOD, AWOD, YouTube. When you're producing the content, you think about, can I have it in a podcast format and put it on Spotify as well? And if you are going to be really unifying all this, then it makes sense because you're probably going to make 120. But if you still think that I'm going to do exactly the same thing on broadcast and I need to justify spending $2 on FAST, and somebody is going to underwrite the risk that I'm going to make more than $2 on this, before I go to YouTube, somebody has to underwrite that risk or I have to spend money, then nobody is going to, right? Because the key thing is if you're going to be unifying all that workflow, so that you are not looking at getting into all these different mediums as an incremental investment, but a single time investment that you're doing right from the time you're producing the content to the way you're distributing it and the way you're going to be monetizing it, how you're going to be windowing the content, that's the most critical thing.
Yeah, sure.
Also, what is going to happen that when you see, like Ashish said, distribution is God. So a lot of people in the ecosystem started thinking, you know the meme, kabhi kabhi apun ko lagta hai apun hi bhagwan hai. So that was the attitude. To access to distribution was a big problem. So Fast will create its own set of new channels, new creators, just like the social media ecosystem created its own, like YouTube, you have different kind of news channels. Then the news channels which are there on the linear traditional, so, and this is also unregulated. So there is some time window which is there for 2-3 years till the time it becomes regulated. So till now, there is no A certificate required, there is no caption required, कि यहाँ cigarette smoking है, यहाँ वो है, ये है. So you can dance till you can dance, but then when it is regulated, we need to see what happens then. And when Vikas said that we transitioned from cable to DTH, we never transitioned. We had DTH on top of cable.
Yes.
And nobody went off. Now we are having one more SWOT, and now we are having Fast. We'll have some new term, we'll find some new technique in the next NAB. What should we find next is the agenda that we'll talk in Vegas.
There is anyway another 150 million homes, which Saurabh said in the morning, right, to come up. But I agree with Jay in the sense that, unfortunately, the onus is still going to be who needs to do what fast. The consumer doesn't need to do anything. They're going to watch if it's worth watching, right? Platforms are already there to do that. We as enablers for channel creation and ad insertion, we're also there and willing to do business. Unfortunately, the onus comes back on to the content owner, who may feel slightly victimized in this, but the point is, if you're not able to put out a compelling proposition for a consumer who is ready for a device that's available and for technology that's helping you push your content there, then you're going to be left behind because someone's going to jump on that bus. It's not really, there is no option.
Okay, so we just got 2 minutes left. If there's one thing you'd like to do, I'm just going to go around from here to there. This year, 2024, one thing you'd like to do from a Fast perspective. We can go in any order.
IPL on Fast.
IPL on Fast, okay?
Personalization.
Make it more DTV than CTV. So it's more digital television than cable or connected TV television.
Gulshan?
I don't have an answer to that. I would say IPL's already on Fast.
IPL only on.
Venu? Transparency around the consumer viewing behavior.
Jay?
I mean, from our perspective, the key thing would be working with the brands eventually to see Fast as a separate category within digital, because eventually that market needs to evolve.
So that leaves one thing for Ashish Ferwani, start measurement for all these guys. Okay? Thank you very much. You've been great. I hope it added value to everybody else over here. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Indian Television, for bringing this subject up.
Thank you all.
Thank you so much, gentlemen, for the wonderful session. And now I will request our session chair to kindly felicitate all our esteemed speakers for the day. So can we kindly start with our first speaker for the day, with Mr. Prashant Chothani. Can I please have the certificate? May I request all of you to please give them a warm round of applause for taking such a beautiful session. Thank you so much, Mr. Prashant, for joining us for the day. Now moving on to felicitate Mr. Vikas Khanchandani, APAC Head Distro Scale Incorporation. Thank you so much, Mr. Khanchandani, for joining us. Now we'll move on to felicitate Mr. Gulshan Verma, CEO GeoAds. We're really glad to have you, Mr. Verma. Thanks for sharing all your knowledge and your expertise with all of us. Now we'll move on to felicitate Mr. Kunal Mehta, Head Partnerships, Samsung TV Plus. Thank you so much, Mr. Mehta, for joining us. Applause should continue for all our speakers who are there on the stage. I could see the hall filled with really positive and energetic people, but I could not see that energy today. So may I request all of you with like this, because I am more audible than all of you. So yes, now we'll move on to felicitate Mr. Venugopal. Yes, he's there, COO Digital Planetcast. Thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Iyengar. Moving on to felicitate Mr. Jay Ganesan, Senior Vice President Sales, APAC Amagi. Thank you so much, Mr. Jay, for being here for the day. And now I would like to take the honor to felicitate Mr. Sunil as well. Applause should continue for him. Once again, thanks to all the gentlemen who are here with us, and would like to request you all to kindly share your perspective on the day and about the session also in the speakers lounge. May I please request all of you to kindly give a photo off to the camera, as a camera person is always excited to take the pictures and create memories for all of us. Thank you once again. And now after this, it's time to move on to the next panel, which is the OTT aggregation game. The OTT aggregation game is characterized by constant innovation, fierce competition, and evolving consumer preferences. Success in the industry depends on a combination of factors, including content libraries, pricing, user experience, and strategic partnerships. As the industry continues to evolve, new entrants and disruptive technologies may further shape the landscape. So what are the key drivers behind the growth of OTT, that's over-the-top streaming platforms or industry in the recent years? To get the answers to all these questions, we have an elaborated session by all our esteemed dignitaries who are with us today. So without a further ado, let me call upon stage firstly Mr. Ravikant Sabnavis, CEO, Arha Media and Broadcasting. May I have the honor of inviting Mr. Sabnavis on stage. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Mr. Sabnavis. May I request Mr. Sabnavis, if he's there in the hall, to come up on the stage? I think he's just coming. I hope you all are filtering your learning process today and you all are sharing your perspectives on the day on your social media handles, tagging us. So in the meantime, all our dignitaries are coming on stage as they are arriving in the hall. Would like to thank our partners. This event is co-powered by Dangal TV, associate partners Planetcast, Shimaru Network, industry partners Chana Jor, India Cast Media, OTT Play, V Elemento, Watcho, the OTT Super App, our lanyard partners, Extreme Labs, Playbox TV. We have our community partner as well, Kerala Vision Broadband. So may I please request all of you to get a cheers for all our partners, because without their continuous and tremendous support, this event would not have been possible. So now, may I once again request Mr. Ravikant Sabnavis, CEO, Arha Media and Broadcasting, to kindly take up the stage for the next session on the OTT aggregation game. If he's there. Okay. Now, I would like to take the honor to invite Mr. Yatin Gupta, Senior Vice President, GTPL Hathway Limited. Please welcome Mr. Gupta. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for our next dignitary, our next esteemed speaker for the day, Mr. Akshat Singhal, Head Dangal Play. Please welcome Mr. Akshat. We have Mr. Amir Mulani, Founder and CEO, Playbox TV. May I have the honor of inviting Mr. Amir Mulani on stage. We have Ms. Archita Jasani, COO, V-Hunt Digital Media, OTT Chana Jor. Please welcome the gorgeous lady out there, Ms. Archita Jasani. And along with all of them, would like to invite our session chair, of course, Mr. Anuj Gandhi, media consultant. Please welcome Mr. Anuj Gandhi.
We'll wait for Ravi before
Yes.
he starts.
He'll join in the meanwhile, so you can start in the meanwhile, yeah. I'll just call him.
Good afternoon, everybody. We are running slightly late, but I'll not hold much from your lunch timing, so we will make it crisp and exciting so that you are ready for your lunch. Thanks, Indian Television, for getting us all here to do this interesting conversation on the... So you've seen traditional guys in the session before, you've seen fast. It looks like everything is about aggregation only. Whether it is the cable DTH or it is fast, it looks like everybody wants to be watching everything in one platform. So all kinds of aggregation. So here is Ravi. Can I have a big round of applause for Ravi? So before I introduce or ask my things, one question to the audience here. On an average, and I will ask question, you can just raise hand, how many hours people spend on their mobile phones every day? More than 5 hours? More than 6 hours? Nobody. More than 3 hours? The people are lying here in this room here. Nobody is judging you, right? Clearly people are lying. I don't think people who are in the business can spend less than 3-4 hours on mobile every day, right? If I need to ask second round of that question, how many hours in that, whatever you spend on your mobile screen, is actually watching OTT, right? SWOD OTT, more than 2 hours? More than 50%? Oh, I can see some heads moving here, there. I think what we are going to discuss today is what I would call as share of sight, right? How many hours can people watch content? It's a share of sight. Fast, between YouTube, fast, OTT, linear channels, social media, WhatsApp, how many hours can be? And hence the challenge that all of us have today on making sure that I know Ashish talked about distribution being God, but I think ultimately everything is consumer. We decide what we want to watch, when we want to watch, where we want to watch, and subscribe to what we want. So that's the matter of debate that we will do today. So let's start with my broader question people here. We have people who run OTT as SWOT services, people who aggregate OTT, and also people who are looking to aggregate combined with other services. So let's start with OTT first. There is a belief, and everybody says that aggregation is about 2.5. In fact, in the earlier session also, people said people subscribe to 2.5 OTTs. But individual OTTs, there is a belief that beyond the point from a D2C perspective or direct to consumer, you cannot cross. There is a customer acquisition cost, there is other costs that build in. Is there, when you run an OTT, and this is to Ravi, Archita, and Akshat, is there a problem that beyond this I can't grow, I need to look at other avenues to grow? Ravi?
That's a good question. I think if I look at it from the consumer's perspective, there's a lot of entertainment out there for me as a consumer, right? Be it a YouTube video or simply chatting with somebody on the phone. I'm probably oversimplifying to make the point, but that's also entertainment, right? And then there is OTT. So there is a limit to my time, even if it be 5 hours or 3 hours or 6 hours, finally there is a limit. And then in that time, I'm trying to watch OTTs as well, besides doing whatever I am for entertainment. So therefore, you're possibly right that there comes a time when the growth, then when I look at it from our perspective and not the consumers, our growth slows down, right? We are going to find it increasingly difficult to A, reach out to the consumer, and B, convince them to be subscribing to our platform, broadly speaking.
Archita?
Just adding to what Ravikant said, of course, there is a stagnation which is happening, especially in metros, where we see that there is a capacity on how many apps can be there on a mobile phone. So either you are loyalist to 2 or 3 apps, in general. Beyond that, I see a lot of growth that can happen in tier 2 and tier 3, because these are the consumers who are now tasting, what the OTT and the entertainment segments are. So where we see that there is a glass ceiling probably happening towards the metros, but there is a huge potentiality in tier 2 and tier 3 markets that we can go through. Also with the aggregators, probably they also control a lot of the consumer base beyond where we reach. So hence the aggregation makes sense in a way that there is a D2C and there is a B2B2C as well, and which helps us to get to the last mile of the consumers.
Hi. So earlier, people used to go to OTT platforms and search for content because the OTT platforms were very less. Now with so many OTT platforms, we need to go to the users, and like if they know we have Dangal Play subscription, they'll just go on the platform, see what they have. So that's why it's important now to get into bundles and yeah.
So Amir, question to you. Let's do a little role play. One of the things that as an OTT aggregator that you would, when you go and meet a Ravi and saying, let's add your OTT to my aggregation. The first question that any OTT player will say, it'll cannibalize my D2C business, right? I have this direct customer who's paying me whatever, my MRP, and tomorrow you will take it from me at a wholesale price, and I will lose my existing customer, right? What would be your response to Ravi?
Hello. So my response will be very simple, sir. So for example, let's assume you are running a restaurant and you have a capacity of serving 100 customers, but on an average you are able to serve around 60% of your seats and 40% is going just lying down. So I come in picture and say, boss, that to add the additional 40 customers, I can be a great medium for you to sample your content also with a subscriber. Now, to get that 60 customer also, you have spent a huge amount of money on customer acquisition. So there are people who spend to sell 1,000 rupees subscription, there are people who are spending 3,000 rupees of customer acquisition cost. But from a platform like me, you get a guaranteed subscriber. Obviously, there is a small subsidized value which you offer us, and that is how we will be able to serve those 40 customers who didn't even knew. And the second advantage what Playbox brings in is that assume that you are sitting in a northern market. For example, AHA is very popular in South, or Hyderabad belt of it. But at the same time, the customer who is subscribing to, for example, ZEE5 in the north or a Sony in the north, but with a bundling offering, he also getting a small cut of that subscription, which adds more additional revenue to him. So I think it's a win-win situation for both of us.
So Yatin, that is actually an automatic thing for you, right? Traditionally, TV is always, actually we've never questioned if, and a lot of people in this room have been in industry for decades, right? Nobody questioned aggregation as a concept because it was guaranteed. Channel chahiye to cable chahiye ya DTH chahiye, right? Nobody said, there was no company in media which was doing direct sale of a linear channel, correct? Everybody had to go through a distribution platform as they would. This is a new phenomenon, right?
Absolutely.
There is OTT being sold by independent global players, by broadcasters, by independent OTT guys, and hence the aggregation. So from a traditional guy who's saying, I am doing my linear business, I am doing my aggregation, where does OTT aggregation in your life fit in? Because you are anyway doing a linear business. I mean, good, bad, ugly, there is growth, there is no growth, but reality is it's a big business, right? How does OTT aggregation fit into your life?
So the way that we will look at it, we are looking at it rather is, we already have a cable product, which is an aggregation of channels. We have broadband as a service, Now, to augment this, along with OTT players coming on as a bundled offer, is what we would look at as an option for the consumers. So basically, looking at the consumer and saying that from this household, he's already got a cable, he's already got a broadband. We may be able to give him OTT services as an aggregation. We may be able to give him other services as an aggregation model. Whether it makes economic sense or not, of course, is a big question mark, because the OTT players are obviously expecting certain amount of guarantees, which may or may not work out. So we're looking at all of that while deciding whether to go ahead with it and what are the model.
So you think there is an opportunity that 1 year from today I will get an offer from a traditional, like you, a traditional TV player saying, take internet, cable and all OTTs at a certain monthly rate?
Absolutely.
Why is it not, why is it, it seems only MGs is the problem, but other than that.
Today the situation is slightly more complicated than what it was earlier. Because of the NTO in the cable space, there has been an increase in prices of the broadcast channel itself. And right now, what we were, let's say pre-NTO, we were at a differential price with DTH, because DTH was on a digital model. We were on a cable model, which was bulk buying. And we were able to offer services at a reasonable price to the consumer, which was obviously at a much larger differential than the DTH players could. So that's become one of the issues. Now we are at a situation where we have to offer it at a similar price. It may not be drastically different. The other part that is there is the broadband business, where there is obviously a huge amount of competition that is coming and price points are continuously going down. Now, in this situation, if we are to offer aggregation of OTT players, it has to be at a sensible cost. Otherwise, we will not be competitive. We have to compete with the likes of the telcos and the national players who are offering fiber, OTT, linear channels, everything put together. So we have to be price competitive, and we also have to look at our margins.
So let's actually focus on only, if I am a consumer today, and I ask these questions to everybody, question in the beginning, let's talk only what makes sense from a consumer. If I'm a consumer today, I am actually not interested so much in traditional TV. If you see, if everybody remembers the EPG, right? The movie channels were all stacked next to each other. There was a reason, because I never watched a Zee Cinema or a Sony Max. I am watching the movie. So I go from one channel to the other and saying, okay, this is the movie I like. They're all stacked next to each other, much easier to make the choice. Today, as a consumer, I am, actually Ashish has left. He just told me some data point that just in Hindi GECs, we are producing 165,000 hours of content. Just in Hindi channels, or not Hindi, sorry, GEC channels, right, across the country. Then if I add all the OTT content that is being made, and I am not going to YouTube, right? There is so much content today for the consumer. How does an OTT aggregation today, and Amir to you, and then I will go to at least all OTT, how does it make a difference to you? What is the proposition that you have for me as a consumer today, and how does it benefit consumer and OTT?
So, the proposition is very simple. I think we all are in the process of learning, and when we started, the proposition was different. The consumer was thinking differently. But today, if you see today, India has almost more than 80 to 90 plus OTTs. Some are branded, some are non-branded stuff. And it is very difficult to subscribe each one of them. And as you rightly said, it is a content game. So for example, if I want to watch a Shark Tank, so I will definitely go to, and I will find a platform. So the responsibility of an OTT aggregator here is that trying to personalize the product as per the consumer needs. So for example, what kind of content this kind of consumer likes it. Okay. For the consumer is very simple. He doesn't want to watch 20 OTTs. We ourselves bundle 20 plus OTTs with different broadband plans, but it doesn't make sense to the consumer. But it makes sense to the operator, because he wants to show that the large amount of offering I'm giving it to the consumer at a very affordable price. I think Yatin will relate to that thought. As he said, there's a lot of competition in the broadband market. But for the consumer, it is purely content. So if you see even today, I'll tell you some data metrics on from our platform. We try to put almost 10 titles on our app from different OTT platforms. And out of 10, we have seen the click per ratio is 3. He will definitely go and try to access the detail page of it, and he will come back, and coincidentally, he will choose one. And 90% of times, consumer know what he wants to watch. He will come, search, click the movie, and just start watching it. So I think my responsibility as a platform or as an aggregator, it is purely give him something which he really wants to, and trying to keep it so easy so that it's not confusing for him to decide.
So does that, Ravi, Archita and Akshat, does that make sense? Because you, when the consumer is directly subscribing to you, you pretty much own the consumer from day zero, right? Now, there is an OTT aggregation ecosystem that is building. I would still say it is in its infancy. It's just started a couple of years back, right? So does that make sense to you? And how do you take benefit of that kind of a, because consumer is not, if I'm in Hyderabad, and I am, as a consumer today, is wanting to watch something from Gemini and from ETV and AHA, right? So I don't care where it is from. If you promote and I see a hoarding, I'm saying, okay, this is what I like to watch, I don't care. So how does an OTT aggregation, Ravi, to you first and then?
So I'll probably pick up from what you just said, that, there is AHA, there's Z5, there's probably Gemini, and so on and so forth. So let's pause here for a moment and just sort of step back. So as an OTT platform, as an entertainment platform, besides coming up with good content, I would like to have my product within an arm's length of desire. That's where aggregators come in. For a moment, let's keep economics and commerce out of it. For a moment, let's even keep owning the customer out of it, right? I want to get everywhere. As I was telling you before this, it's akin to FMCG. You go, to a Kirana shop, a multi-brand outlet essentially. What it does for us is to be able to put out your product there. Of course, there's tons of choice. So I think that's where, to come back to your question, this makes a lot of sense for us because through your own platform, upside, you own the consumer, there's much more insights, and you can sort of put out content, you can manage churn and so on and so forth. On the other hand, what aggregators give us is that reach, which is going to be difficult otherwise. And that's why I see synergies.
So content discovery is a challenge, we all know. Secondly, when we say consumers, consumer is not one, because there are different sets of consumer. There is one set of consumer who knows what to watch. He comes there, he searches, he watches. There is another set of consumer who doesn't know what he wants to watch. So he comes there, he experiments the content, he sees what's coming new, and then there are different age and genders of consumers, right? So Gen Z doesn't want to see what's available, but they want to see what's new, and hence why there is a rush to Korean series, Turkish dramas, all of that. People don't know what this content is, right? And people still want to watch it. Dubbing has started now, but people did watch it in Korean language itself, reading the subtitling. So I think, there are two sets of consumers here, and probably we all are somewhere also catering to consumer who want to experiment and see something new. Secondly, when I come to the OTT aggregators and how they help us is, reaching out to this consumer, saying what's coming new on these platforms. Because when we go to all the aggregators and ask for promotions, or we try to plan the promotions, it's always that, is it new? What's new? Okay, legacy content, they are engaging, but they are not really an acquisition model in today's date. So probably where these promotions, they help us in promoting, they help us in getting to the last mile of the consumer. And that's where, it's a win-win for both of the teams. I think the OTT partners as well, the aggregators, because they also want to give consumers every day something new to engage, to subscribe, to keep being loyal to a platform. So yeah.
I mean, it's great for users because they can't switch on 20 different apps and check which content they want. So aggregator apps are doing great work that ways to recommend content of what they like, right? And which platform they can see. But for us, great, as they both said, we get more organic users. And once they are on our platform, it's our responsibility to make them at least watch something, to get some watch time out of them and the retention and everything, then it's our responsibility. So they're helping us to get organic users to our platform. Yeah.
So, I mean, something that Ravi said, and that's been ownership of the consumer, right? When he's watching from your app, it's very easy when you do, but when OTT aggregation, it's all deep linked and the movement. But the bigger question there is churn. See, I think Yatin mentioned, right? Before NTO, there was a certain life. There was no churn in cable, right? Everybody was getting 250 rupees, everything. Whether I watch it or not, cable never bothered. If you go to any MSO and saying, how many people watch Star Plus in your network, they will be looking at you and saying, which world do you live in? I don't care, right? Today, the world is different, right? Churn has become a major concern for all traditional players. Churn is a concern for OTT. Churn is a concern for an OTT aggregator, right? So my question is related to what is the difference that as an OTT, if you are running my own, I am your customer, you need to retain me at the time of renewal. Same is the problem for an OTT. How is it different? Because for me, if I am subscribed to an OTT aggregator, I am now questioning how many apps did I see. You charge me 1,999, gave me 20 apps. But boss, I only saw 4, like you said, right? To your point, Amir, where you said out of 10 tiles, 3 were clicked, only 1 was watched, right? At the time of renewal, as a consumer, I'm thinking, what did I do? Similarly for an OTT player, right? Whether when I subscribed, annual, quarterly, monthly, whatever, did I justify that price? So how is it different between an OTT player and an OTT aggregation? Because churn is a big concern.
So I'll just add this to this is that, so if you see whatever subscriptions, irrespective what OTT aggregator is charging or irrespective what OTT platform directly charging, nobody is able to make money. So the question of not watching that particular content so that you don't charge, that is out of question. I think 90% of people will sit here and ask MGs. So I think we are anyway paying almost 40% higher from what they are charging to the end consumer. So because of the MGs, because not everybody is able to meet the MG. That is the biggest concern in the whole aggregation space. That is why there are 3, 4 now. But if the MG part would have been removed.
You need a TRA in your life.
Yeah. Anybody who can solve this for us. So I think that is the biggest concern for, so because the OTT aggregator is not just helping you to get a new subscriber, but he is working. So for example, B2C model for an OTT aggregator, it will not make sense, at least for next 3 years. So Playbox is highly focused on the B2B market. Operators, which are the internet operators, who are the existing cable operators, we are today reaching to 50,000 operators across India. And these are the guys who are bundling this. That is the only way we are able to survive ourselves.
But even in that market, there will be churn, right?
Churn to 100% if the subscriber stop broadband service.
So what would an OTT aggregator needs to do to stop that churn? See, first time, and in your example of a B2B model, where an operator instead of whatever, with your internet, he's taken the OTT aggregation. But after 6 months, he says, I don't want it. What can you do to get the churn down in your life? Because it will only help people, probably they'll ask less MGs next year.
I think that is not going to happen soon because everybody is trying to make extra buck out of it. But the churn, so in B2B2C, the churn is slightly lesser than what is in B2C, because in B2C, it is purely content based. If I want to watch a particular content, I will subscribe and pay $1,000 also, but I will never come again till the time certain content. But in B2B, it has its bundled. So Yatin will answer this properly because he's the one, a player like us, who are bundling to the end consumer. Irrespective of, end consumer is not paying for that. So the churn over there is less. Again, churn can only be prevented on the basis of, there are multiple factors. What if the broadband service is not working fine, he can churn for the OTT also. So it is very difficult to answer that point today.
So let me take a stab. Very good question. So my perspective is at the core of churn, and that's the question that you asked, is content. right, and engagement. So if for a moment the consumer was on my own platform, one is, of course, I have compelling content. I need to have compelling content. Two, I need to keep reminding people and push that content. And I need to engage with them in some way or the other, right? We need to do the same. According to me, if we don't do these, the viewer is going to churn out in any case, because she's going to believe that, I don't use this app, or I don't think the content is good. I watched one movie or some show 8-10 months back, but I've not found anything meaningful. To me, the logic is the same, even if it's an aggregator, and therefore I see an opportunity. If we want to reduce churn, how can the OTT platform and the aggregator collaborate with each other to understand those consumers, share insights? And that's what at AHA, that's what we do with the aggregators whom we're working, and we are trying to work in a collaborative mode where we are sharing insights. We are giving them a heads up on what compelling content we have, so that they can in turn throw it to the consumer. And I believe that at the end of that period, when time comes to churn, you'll hopefully retain them if the aggregator does more or less what the platform is doing.
I feel it's a responsibility of an aggregator, OTT provider, content creator, and the last mile operator also, who is providing these services in a bundled manner. Then only we can prevent churn. As a collaborative way is the only way forward.
Yeah, just to add here, India is also a very price sensitive market. So, wherever between the aggregators, I feel whoever is giving cheaper and the most OTT apps, I think people's loyalty is going to change there. So though though people, and there are also two ways to it, that sometimes they have not experienced the app, or they do not download the app, but when it is available for free, people start watching the app. So an engagement and loyalty starts developing there. But of course, it's a larger question on why churns happen independently and why people choose other partners as well. But I think largely, offers, promotions help, address the churns in certain ways. And engagement with the consumer and service with the consumer also helps to a certain extent, where people do not want to just change, because they are happy with the app, or they are happy with the UI, or they are happy with the content. So that's also certain factors to it.
So currently for us, the churn is going great because because Dangal TV has very strong TV shows. So TV shows, if you compare to web series, are going year round, right? Like if there's a show, it has 300 episodes, it is already a branded show, unlike web series. You need to brand web series. And episodes are coming out every day. And if they want to watch before TV, they need to go on Dangal Play. And people are like addicted to these shows. So like for TV shows, the churn gets better than web series in general.
So actually, Amit, you said it, and that's what is, see, everybody here, right? We are very excited with the size of the market. Right? That restaurant example, actually, if you look at it, is probably you are in 5 and 95 is still,
yeah,
right?
Exactly.
Right? So if I look at internet users, so many smartphones, so much potential of what morning somebody said, right? 100 million still to be, I don't believe in it, but whatever. The thing is that there is a large market, right? Whether it's for OTT or it's for linear. But somehow everyone is struggling, like you said. Nobody is making money. People are. What is it that is how do you reach the larger audience? And this is a question for an OTT aggregator, a cable company which wants to, and OTT, right? Why is it that, is it pricing is a problem? Is it the numbers? People are very satisfied with what they're watching, their mobile phones or their TVs, that they don't want to spend money. I have enough time to kill. What is it that, one of the greatest interviews that I've seen, and I've quoted this before, it's Reed Hastings, who's Netflix chairman. When somebody asked him, who's your competitor? He said, sleep, right? So that was the level of saying that people should consume more. Now here we have probably on an average 1.5 mobiles in this room for everybody's hand. Still we are all struggling, right? What is it? Is it pricing? Is it content? But I don't think so. We're producing so much content. What is it that people are not willing to spend or subscribe? And this is open to everybody. So,
willingness to spend, and I don't think it's pricing so much. It's just, even if you have a 99 rupee pack, for example, it's to do with the Indian consumer, right? And perhaps to add flavor to this, over the last 6-7 weeks, we've been actively engaging with consumers in Andhra and Telangana. And so there are a lot of people who go out, they watch movies, they're movie junkies, and they watch a lot of shows.
what an average family of 4 will spend how much in Hyderabad or in Vijayawada? To watch a movie.
To watch a movie, luckily there a ticket would be about, in a Vijayawada would be 100, 150 rupees.
But
so
still 600 rupees.
600
for
rupees.
3 hours.
But interestingly, when it comes to watching shows, they're clearly watching content on off OTT, but not on OTT. So while some of them are doing password sharing and the likes, youngsters, unfortunately there are a lot of there's piracy there. So if a movie releases today, in 48 hours, you have a pretty good print, out there. And the irony is, this particular guy, the moment you log in, he says, beware of fake sites of his own, and he's pirated. So I think it's just a thrill or a habit that I don't want to pay when I can get it free.
Content is becoming expensive, right? And willingness to pay remains the same. So as and when you want to make, more large screen content on a web series format, it is becoming more costlier. Plus the marketing costs are reaching high. So while we make about $1.3 billion today, the content cost put together, all other costs is around 1.5 to 2 billion. So I think that's where, the pricing is a very sensitive factor in India. And that's where people are still not got into a habit of paying more to watch, a more premium content. Slowly, steadily, it's building, but it's gonna take time. Freemium is here to stay, is what I believe. And AVOD is also struggling in a way. So I feel pricing has always been a sensitive, and more the choices. Every consumer has now more than 30, 40 OTT apps itself to watch content. And plus, we are also, as you said, that sleep is something which we are competing, but I also feel social media is also something that we are competing with. Like Insta Reels and Facebook Reels are also time consuming and screen time, taking screen time of the people. So I think that's where the even competition lies these days.
I feel it's an intent. The problem is intent. The consumer is ready to pay because consumer loves watching content. In India, Bollywood is religion, and so I feel it is never the concern of the price. I think the right model is missing. The whole industry, as OTT industry, is not taken seriously. None from the linear guys, and none from the consumer side, because it is always that, as he said, that piracy is something which is very common and very normal. Even my father sometimes watch content and I don't even come to know that he's watching from a pirated website. And it is very easily available to these guys. I think the awareness needs to be created from the broadcaster, from the aggregators, and from the distribution side of the model. So then only this will rightly fit into a model where, because if you make it available at right price in a legal model, consumer will pay for it, but nobody has an intent to market that much. Some are the concerns, there are concerns of money, as nobody, there is no margin for the aggregator so much which he can share with the cable operator or a linear player. So all this will come in place over the period of time. So intent which needs to build to come together and solve this, I think that is missing.
While Ravi and Amir and everyone has talked about pricing, I think maybe we should also look at it slightly differently. The consumer wants to watch content, and he wants to watch a variety of content. Like you said earlier, there are n number of applications available. There are thousands and hundreds and thousands of hours of content available. As an aggregator, probably what we should be looking at is how we show that content to the consumer, easy to access, and from one place, how the consumer can access a range of content. Pricing will come into play. Maybe we can look at a different model. If there is 100,000 hours of content available on an aggregator, and if a consumer watches 1 hour, maybe you should pay for 1 hour. instead of doing an MG for the entire month for an application. I don't know, it's a possibility. But finally, the consumer, like Amir said, consumer may be willing to pay, but he wants to see all the content that he may want, that he may like to be visible in one place. He doesn't want to go from app to find content to watch. If I am an action buff, I don't want to go to Amazon Prime and Hotstar and Sony Live and ZEE5 and Netflix and look for content. If all of that content is available on one application in front of me, I should be able to see it from there. I think that will probably help. And of course, the bundling with other services is something that will help.
I think so the most important part about getting wider audience is like releasing new content every month. The higher the frequency of releasing new content, the more cohorts type of audience you can get to your platform, right? And the right combination of marketing and with bundling partners, that way I think so we can make people pay also, and like, yeah, if they get to see a new content coming up every week or something, they'll for sure subscribe to the platform.
Thanks everyone. Our time is up and people are hungry, so we'll let them go and have lunch. Thank you everybody for spending. Thank you Indian Television for giving us this opportunity to have this chat. Thank you.
Thank you so much, all of you, and thanks for taking that such a beautiful session. And I was so engrossed in the session in the starting when you asked that, how many hours do you all spend? I was like, both my hands up. I spend 9 hours on my phone. So yes, thank you. Yes, I'm always being honest. That's the best part. Well, may I please request all of you to give a thunderous round of applause to all our panelists for the day. Thank you so much. Otherwise, मैं आपको अपने storytelling से bore करने वाली थी. Now we'll start the felicitation process, requesting our session chair to kindly start the process of felicitation with Mr. Ravikant Sabnavis. I would request all of you to continue with the applaud till the time we are felicitating all our guests on the stage. Thank you so much, Mr. Sabnavis, for joining us for the day. Now we'll move forward to felicitate the beautiful lady out there, Archita Jasani, COO Vihan Digital Media, OTT Chanajod. Thank you so much, Archita, for joining us today. And thanks for sharing your expertise with all of us. After this, we'll move on to felicitate Mr. Yatin Gupta, Senior Vice President, GTPL, Hathway Limited. Thank you, Mr. Gupta, for coming here and sharing your knowledge with us. We are so glad to have you here for the day. After this, we'll move on to felicitate Mr. Akshat Singhal, Head, Dangal Play. Thank you, Mr. Singhal, for being with us today and sharing all the insights for the session. Now we'll move on to felicitate Mr. Amir Mulani, founder and CEO, Playbox TV. Thank you so much, Mr. Mulani, for coming and joining us today. And with this, would like to take the honor to felicitate our session chair, of course, Mr. Anuj Gandhi. Once again to all of you, and yes, of course, how could I forget to say, a photo op is always necessary whenever it comes to our esteemed speakers and everyone out here who is there. I hope you all are sharing your day's perspective on your social media handles as well, your selfies and your knowledge, in fact, what you're gaining from the event. Yes or no? Yes? Okay. Thank you, all of you. Thank you for coming and joining. And also would like to request all of you to kindly share your day's perspective and share about the session in our speakers lounge with the team. Thank you. And now we'll quickly move on to the next fireside chat that we have on OTT aggregation and beyond. Yes, and for this would like to invite Mr. Anil Dua, Chief Revenue Officer, Digital and Print from Hindustan Times, who is in conversation with Mr. Anil N.M. Vanwari, founder, chairman, editor-in-chief, IndianTelevision.com. So now we are going to watch two Anils together in conversation with each other on this quick fireside chit-chat. And after that, kindly be ready.
It's going to lead to a lot of confusion in my head. Which Anil am I talking to, myself or this Anil? But that's okay.
Mr.
We'll
Anil
manage.
N.M. Vanwari, who is having a mic in his hand, and Mr. Anil Dua, who is there on the chair, along with him, Chief Revenue Officer, Digital and Print, Hindustan Times. And after this quick 15-minute session, we are going to have a lunch break. I know you all are hungry. So please wait, because this is going to be one interesting session with both the Anils out there on the chairs on the stage. So can we have a huge round of applause for both of them, please?
Thank you.
This is a whistle for Anil Dua, not for me.
Oh.
Yeah.
You said you will get confused who they're talking about.
No, who I'm talking to, myself or to you. That was meant as a joke. I was just trying to lighten the proceedings so that people wake up. I hope you haven't gone to sleep after that silly joke of mine. Anyway, let's get on with the show. So OTT Play, aggregating, you heard the last session.
Yep.
Discovery, he doesn't want to go across 5 different apps. So how is OTT Play getting past that challenge which consumers have? They want simplicity, they want ease of use.
Yeah, so my good friend Yatin was here from GTPL, and he was talking exactly what I wanted to tell all of you. You don't need to now go to different apps. We have possibly the largest OTT aggregator platform in India called OTT Play, which covers more than 35 apps today with 400 plus live TV channels. Gone are the days when you have to worry about the hassle of going from one platform to another to check what exactly you want to watch. Okay, so we have solved the problem of what to watch, where to watch through our recommendation engine, and also the problem of where to stream it, because in one app you will get all the apps together. Yeah, so that's OTT Play. Maybe this is a good time for us to show you what our platform looks like. So can
we roll the tape, please, for the OTT Play?
Thank you.
But so is entertainment, which is why internet service providers that provide OTT subscriptions as an add-on with their internet services are often the preferred choice of ISP among Indian users. But what if you're an ISP without access to these multiple OTT platforms? How do you satisfy this need of your customers? Well, the answer is simple: a partnership with OTT Play Premium. A true OTT aggregator and product developer that will not just create a platform for your consumers to stream OTTs on, but also fill it with licensed content from across 32 plus OTTs, 50,000 plus titles, and 350 plus live TV channels. Partnering with us will allow you to strengthen your relationship with local cable operators network and in turn the end user. It's a win-win. Better service for LCOs, happier customers for ISPs. So why wait? Choose OTT Play Premium and delight your customers today.
Sounds very exciting, man. It really sounds exciting that you're aggregating and you're serving to telcos, you're serving to ISPs, you're serving to cable guys. What's the percentage distribution like between them?
So we have a very good mix of the internet service providers with whom we actually do the bundling with their broadband plans. And we also have the cable operators through whom we reach out to our customers. We also have a direct-to-customer channel through our digital landscape, which helps us reach out to our customers.
And are you strong up north? Are you strong down south? Or are you strong in the east, the west? I don't think you're very strong in the west, if I'm correct.
Why do you say so?
No, because we haven't seen much of... I may be wrong. Forget it.
We also,
I'm putting my foot in my mouth by saying
maybe on a lighter side. Are you right, TG, for us? So anyway, we have, if you look at our content, okay, we are a very, we have a very good balance across regions. And that's one of the big USPs that we bring to the table. So if you are, let's start with the south. You know, if you go to Coimbatore, the #1 OTT there, Sun Next is with us. If you come to AP or Telangana, the #1 OTT and #2 OTT, ETV and AHA are with us. And like this, you know, you go to a Hindi heartland, we have a Bhojpuri. You go to a Ludhiana, we have a Punjabi. We have, of course, you know, the large Hindi OTTs, Zee, Sony. We have Lionsgate. So we have, you know, most of these OTTs. So we are relevant across spectrum of customers. And we believe that we are relevant to everyone. And this is also
I'm not talking about relevance. I'm talking about penetration so far. My understanding is you haven't pushed so aggressively in the West. you'll have been more aggressive up north and possibly down south rather than the west and the east.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes, you're right. So, so far, South is obviously the leading market for us, followed by North and then West and then East. You're absolutely right.
And what's the kind of watch time that people are spending across your apps?
So
one is your D2C customers, and second is your, do you have a fix on that, or will the app will have a fix directly?
By DNA, we are a tech company. So these things, we have customer at the middle of everything that we do. So we track watch hours, we track average time per user, average time that each user spends. So I wouldn't be able to share the exact number. It's pretty good. And we have seen that in the tier 2, tier 3 cities, our average time per user actually goes up significantly. So that's one insight that we have got with focus on the regional content that we have done.
And why is that? Because are those areas TV dark?
I believe, and things are changing in this dynamic industry. I believe that so far the OTT penetration has largely happened in the larger towns, and there's a lot of scope in the tier 2, tier 3 for both OTT platforms as well as aggregators like us to reach.
So, no, but it's not because they're TV dark. Some of the are the lower tier of society picking up your app? Because I believe it's $250 if you take a year-long package with all the 35 plus all the 400, 500 TV channels. That's pretty affordable at $3,000 a year. But people can also pick up regional packs at 100 rupees to 150 rupees. So, what is finding the most takers?
Yeah.
And where is it finding in tier 2, tier 3? Is it the more upscale customers, or is it the lower? And is it mobile, or is it smart TV?
Yeah.
Many questions in one.
Yeah. So, so first of all, by design, we are a TV-first app, right? So we want more and more customers to be watching us on television. And when I say television, it is television and mobile by default, right? That's the first thing. The second thing is you talked about the packs. We have packs ranging from I would say as high, but like you rightly said, as affordable as 250 rupees a month for 32 OTTs and 350 plus live TV channels a month, right? And that's all that you have to pay for 32 OTTs and 350 plus live TV channels, right?
When television, cable TV would cost a hell of a lot more.
Absolutely. And if you come to the regional packs, like a Hindi Heartland pack, or a North pack, or a East pack, that starts from as low as 100 rupees a month. So very, very affordable, and at 100 rupees a month, you get almost 18 to 20 OTTs for depending on the region.
So who's picking up the 100 rupees? Is it the upper strata of tier 2, tier 3 towns, or is it there are strata even in tier 2, tier 3 towns, or is it the lower income strata?
Not the low income strata so much, but I would say tier 2, tier 3.
In tier 2, tier 3, so there would be the high income in tier 2?
And the metros are more around the larger packs, right? And because even the largest pack, which is 32 OTTs for 250 rupees a month, is very, very affordable and very, very doable.
Do you have specials coming up from time to time? Do you have special promotions? And secondly, do you also have special promotions for the content which is being put out there by your partners?
So we belong to the HT Media Group. We are a media company ourselves, right? We have our reach through our newspaper, through the digital landscape that we have. So one is that we use our own media to reach out to the customers, and we have the content nudges that go to the customers who subscribe with us.
And those who are not subscribing through the through your online media and through your newspapers, through Hindustan Times.
So,
and the question I was asking you is, do you have special promotions for content of your partners, one? And do you also have special price promotions for the customer?
Yeah. So answer to both of your questions is yes. We obviously, if you look at our digital reach across our basic platforms like HindustanTimes.com or LiveMint or Live Hindustan, we are at 300 million plus reach on a monthly basis, MAUs. So we really use that to reach out to our prospective customers to start with, and to the subscribers who are already with us. there is time to time the content nudges that go to them, the new arrivals that coming in, and reaching out to them to not only continue to be with us, but also to watch and use us, and so that we can offer value to.
Yeah, and are you EBITDA positive, or are you bleeding right now?
We are right now in the startup mode. We are third year running, so we are very close now to coming to a place where we can now start making
generating cash. Yeah. And is the capacity full, or do you see more partners coming in? And is there an opportunity for other players who got OTT apps to come and partner with you all? And how do they partner with you all?
As I said, today we are 32 OTTs. Very soon, by June, we should be roughly at about 43 to 45. And we clearly see that in short to medium term, we should be at 50 plus OTTs, right? So there is no issue with respect to, or no limitation with respect to the capacity. And partnering is simple. If the content is relevant to our customers, we are willing to discuss and we are willing to partner. And there is obviously a different discussion with each of our content partners that we have.
And how long does it take to come up with a partner, to conclude a partnership? Is it quick, or is it prolong the process?
My experience has been that generally the closure of the commercial discussion in this kind of a business takes about 30 days, and then another about 30 to 45 days into integration. And I think in about 2.5 months, we are GTM ready.
Oh, fantastic. And let's say, how large is your subscriber base today? I know you don't want to disclose specific numbers, but let's say forecast 2 years down the line. Where do you see you all being amongst the? You've got Jio, which is an aggressive aggregator. You've got Playbox TV. You've got yourselves, and you've got many other aggregators coming in. So how do you see yourselves in 2 to 3 years from now? And do you think the appetite to continue in this space when it gets competitive will be there?
Yeah. So interesting question. Difficult for me to give you a straight answer to it. But let me give you a few pointers, right? If you look at the growth of broadband, right? Today we have roughly 50% plus penetration in rural India for broadband. The smartphone penetration itself is growing in tier 2, tier 3 by more than 25% every year, right? So growth is not going to be an issue. And you talked about the large telcos like Jio and the other. Remember that still 1/3 of market is with non-telco broadband providers, right? And that market is not only there today, it is also growing. And we clearly see that as the market for us. And with bundling with their proposition is how we want to reach out to the customers. On top of that, we have our direct-to-customer channel, which will cater to the first 2/3 part of the customer base. Remember, there are a lot of customers of large telcos who have not really used the content that is provided by them. So they keep looking for the right platform and the right value proposition. So that's how we are, kind of building this whole mix.
I'm going to ask you a tough question. Do you ever see Jio integrating you all with them?
Sorry, just come
again. Do
again?
you ever see Jio integrating your OTT play with themselves?
I don't want to comment on speculation, so I will give it a pass.
I thought as much. Now, coming back again, how easy have you said it's easy for discoverability and your recommendation engine? Why don't you have some water? Yeah. You said, it's easy. Discoverability is very easy for you, for the customer. How different is it from, let's say, a Netflix in terms of, at times I find Netflix very painful to go through, though it's supposed to have the best user interface and everything else. And oftentimes it's throwing up content which I may have just surfed past and not really watched. And it keeps throwing up Spanish content to me when I don't want to watch Spanish. I just surfed into it and I watched it, and again it thinks that's what I want to watch. So how different are you all from the Netflix, which is supposed to be the gold standard in terms of recommendation, search, discovery, and all of that?
Yeah. So if you look at, we talk about the 4 pillars of our business, right? The first pillar of our business clearly is the user experience and the user interface that we bring in. We have single sign-on to most of the apps. So if you have, for example, OTT Play with you, and you want to watch a Scam 2003 on Sony Live, you don't need to have a Sony Live app, right? So it's deep integration. So you can, you can just move from one platform to another within OTT Play without having those apps, right? So that's the first thing. The second thing that we bring to the table, which is very different, you talked about Netflix recommendations. If you are a customer of OTT Play or a subscriber of OTT Play, you get AI-based recommendations for all the 32 platforms, not just one. Okay, so if you have watched an action movie or an action content on one of the platforms, next time you come to OTT Play, you will get recommendations across, right? The third thing is we are extremely regional in the content that we bring in, and we talked about that a few minutes back. Fourthly, of course, is the affordability. We want to reach out. We want to be affordable to the masses of India. So these are the 4 pillars that
Actually, you answered most of the questions. Any questions from the audience? Come on, Prashant, you can't sit quietly. You've got to ask some questions. You always do. कुछ तो पूछो? नहीं है? सब answer मिल गया? Any questions from the audience? No? Everyone's hungry? Stomachs are growling?
We have our partners here, our good friends, Amrita, I see right in front, Roos sir, Prem sir. So
any questions from you all? Are you all happy that they've integrated?
They are all waiting for the break to happen so that they can, we can get to chat.
Fantastic. So no questions. Prashant, who's been my greatest critic, is not asking me questions. That means I've done a good job. Thank you very much, Anil. I did not get confused about who I was asking questions to, not to myself, but to you. And thank you for answering them so lucidly. It's been a pleasure chatting with you.
Thank you.
On to lunch. Let me not steal her lines. I am very good at stealing lines.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, both of you gentlemen, for taking such wonderful interactive session. I always love the sessions that Mr. Anil Manwari takes because it's really interactive and a lot to gain from. Thank you so much, both of you. And now we'll start the felicitation.
You're welcome. You'll only get the same check, no more. But thank you.
My payment will not get deducted.
No,
okay,
this time
thank you. May I request both of you to please come in the front for the photo op. Everyone wants to ask one question, no? How long is the lunch break for? Right? So let me tell you, we'll be gathering here once again sharp at 2:30. For 45 minutes is there, yeah. We are having the certificate. Can we please pass on the certificate on the stage for Mr. Anil? Okay. Yeah. We do not have the certificate. Thank you so much, sir, for joining in. And we would be really glad if you would be sharing your perspective about the day and about the session in the speakers lounge as well. And after the lunch, we are just gathering back at 2:30. Before we take a break for lunch, we would like to thank all our partners. This event is co-powered by Dangal TV, our associate partners, Planetcast, Shimaru Network, industry partners, Chana Jor, Indiacast Media, OTT Play, We Elemento, Watcho, the OTT Super App, our lanyard partners, Extreme Labs, Playbox TV, community partner, Kerala Vision Broadband. This event is executed by ITV 2.0 Productions, and this is an initiative by IndianTelevision.com Group. See you all after the lunch. Thank you.